Hey, hey, happy Thursday, everybody. What's going on?
Happy Thursday, guys.
Welcome to another episode of Last Thursday. Happy to be here, as always.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
They come so quickly.
I know. I feel like we say that every week, but it's true.
It's so true.
And especially today. Today felt like, whoa. I mean, it's been a very, very busy week.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, in good ways.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Lots of movement.
Lots of movement.
Is it one of those things where you think the older we get, they're just going to come faster and faster and faster?
Yeah, probably. Maybe. I don't know. I think it probably depends on, like, what's going on in your life and all those things. But I don't know. I mean, who knows?
I think it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
Because it feels like we're going through another quickening or something.
Yeah, perhaps.
So anyways, either way, stoked to be here.
Yep.
If you guys are hanging out with us live, much appreciated. Let's cruise through some opening slides here and remind the people that they can support us via Patreon if they want to.
Totally. Patreon.com/thehealinghome. Super grateful for as many people who have been coming over and supporting. It's really freaking awesome, as I say all the time. But, I mean, honestly, it's like, I think I've said this, but Patreon has been something that Mario and I have talked about for me to start a Patreon page for like a long time, many years.
Right.
And so the fact that I finally did it and we're having people signing up and all that stuff is just freaking great. So Lucas is saying my mic is a little low, so maybe we can check that out.
Let's see here. So I am right
Thank you, Lucas.
here. Yeah, much appreciated. So you're number one. Okay, I think
Let us
that'll
know
do it.
if that's a little better.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, bub.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you, Lucas.
And also, thank you to our current patrons.
Thank you.
So that is Chance, Benna, Inland Sea, Liam, Amy. Big shout out to Amy. She just sent us a little care package.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Amy.
Very much appreciated. It was very thoughtful of her.
Very, very thoughtful.
Miri and Hank, Flat Earth Hippie, Jenny G, Erica, Moonlander / Tattoo Dave, Mary, Catherine, Logan Cook, Lily Vine, and Debbie. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Super cool.
Definitely. And then I have this slide here to open up with, just reminding the people that if they're interested in any of your products, you know, they can reach out to you via email, your website, or by texting or calling you.
Totally. Yeah. And I've said this so many times, but I do all direct sales, no online store. So if you want to order something, email is the best way to do it. Or if you're on social medias and stuff or Telegram, you can always message me there too, to do that. But yeah, that's the deal with orders.
Definitely. And then also, I just want to remind people that they should really sign up for your newsletter. And so I feel like we should, between newsletter releases, just reminding the people, hey, you have it, you should sign up. They could send an email to you and just ask, hey, put me on the newsletter, or they can go to your website and sign up for the newsletter.
Yes.
And so it's a really good way to keep tabs on what Michelle's doing and all that stuff.
Totally. And if you're interested in finding out what products I have or whatever, I always include that in the newsletter. So just a good way to keep in touch.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So that'll do it for now for these opening credits. Hello, here we are.
Howdy.
So let's get to the drinks real quick.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thirsty.
Me too.
So that there's a very selfish reason why I want to just jump into that right now.
Yeah, good. Okay, so we're doing lemonade again today. And the special twist with this lemonade is that I added fermented elderberry honey to it.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
That's a thing, huh?
It's a thing, and it's delicious. And the elderberry, I made it 2 years ago. And so I made it with elderberries from our property. And so making fermented honeys it's very simple, specifically with fruits, because fruits that contain like natural yeasts on them already, like elderberry or grape, juniper berries. You can also ferment, you can put garlic into it and ferment, make fermented honey garlic or garlic honey or whatever.
Right.
But the elderberries make a wonderful fermented honey. And it's lovely medicine, and you can literally just take a spoonful of it and it's delicious. It kind of like gets thin because the water content of the berries kind of comes into the honey. So it becomes almost like a syrup. And so you could actually put it on pancakes, I guess, if you wanted to, but it's a little more medicinal. So you might want to just use it as...
Yeah, you could put it on pancakes. If you're crazy.
Yeah, like us.
Like us, yeah, totally.
Anyway, so that's the type of lemonade we're having. So let's do it.
Hell yeah.
I'm thirsty too. I've been out in the sun all afternoon, if you guys couldn't tell by
You've
my
gotten a lot
red
of sun
hue. So anyway, but
cheers.
Cheers.
And thank you for whipping this up, as always. Oh yeah, that's a winner.
It's super good. The elderberry is very subtle. You can barely even really taste the elderberry, but the medicine is in there. That's for sure. So yeah, very nice. And I love making herbal honeys and all that kind of stuff with fresh herbs. It's awesome medicine.
Before we say hello to the chat, how has your week been?
It's been good. It's been busy. I'm preparing to go home, as you know.
Yes, right.
I'm leaving for a pretty long trip home, 11 days, which for me, that's a long trip to go home, to be away, and just to be back in my hometown in general. That's a long time.
Away from the cat.
Away from the cat, away from you, away from the garden,
right.
Away from the mountain. But it's good because my brother's getting married, so there's a lot of energy swirling back home, and my mom has a lot of stuff to do in terms of just, making food and making cakes and providing and all these things. So I'm going to go home early to help her and be an extra set of hands. And then if my brother needs anything, or his wife or wife to be, so.
Sister. Well, not. Well,
sister-in-law, almost.
Soon to be.
Soon to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So very cool. I'm excited for you to go back home.
Yeah, I am too. And then Mario's going to meet me there a little later. So in June, first day of June.
Right.
So that'll be exciting.
Totally. Yeah. And so you're going to do a solo show.
Yes.
And that's going to be released while you're gone.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually do a pre-recorded show for this upcoming Healing Home episode, just because I'll be home and I don't want to have to commit to like a live thing while I'm there. So I'm going to do a pre-recorded show, but it'll come out on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, like usual.
Right.
So and I'll try and be in the chat, see what's going on. And I'm excited actually for this one. And Mario and I hashed out some of the details about my subject matter, and I'm actually really excited to be talking about what I'm going to talk about.
Me too.
Yeah. So I'm going to get into my healing journey and why is the healing home called the healing home? There's so many things out there. Healer this, healing that, let's all heal, blah, blah, blah. So I know that there's like almost like a cliche thing with the word healing kind of thing, but there's a reason why I named my business or my project or whatever you want to call it, the healing home.
Right.
And I'm going to get into that with everybody on Tuesday for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be very intimate and personal.
Yeah,
it's not going to be a downer.
No.
I think that it's going to be, it's going to inform people more so about your journey. And you're going to be talking about things that I don't think you've really discussed anywhere. Yeah,
no, I haven't. And it's so crucial, too. And I think it's crucial on a lot of levels because I think that some of the things I want to share, I know that other people out there, probably have experienced or what have you.
Sure.
And so for me, I mean, to kind of make it to the other side of a handful of things that I've been through, just like all of us have stuff, so it's not like my story is any specialer than anybody else's when it comes to healing. But as I said, I've chosen to step into this role, and I don't consider myself a healer. Like, I don't call myself a healer because I don't really look at it like that. But I do know that I'm in this realm to help other people to maybe kind of break down some walls for themselves, as I've done and as I continue to do, because as we've talked about before, and we talk about this all the time, this type of work never ends. And so it's like I just sat down with Rachel Sunseed and Beth Martins, and we had our Dark Feminine Part 2 chat, and we kind of talked a little bit about that whole thing of just how, like, a lot of times, especially in like the New Age movement, New Age community, if you do this, you do that, and you do the other thing, you'll be totally healed, and then you're enlightened, and you don't, whatever, you can just like kiss it all goodbye, and it's kind of like, no, that's like a shortcut kind of bullshit. So if there's somebody out there saying that, you should be very skeptical of them, and
right,
that's part of the reason why I feel like I have a responsibility even to share my story in this regard, because Yeah. I mean, it's important to share our stories. So
Totally.
yeah.
It's kind of like whack-a-mole. You know, where
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, okay, when something is introduced into your life, or you have an awareness, I guess, of maybe something that you want to overcome or finally integrate, or there's some sort of shadow there, that you're trying to address. Once you address that, there's going to be something else that you're going to come across.
Yeah.
No one is immune from this kind of trajectory, I guess. If you choose to go down this route of integrating your traumas, doing your shadow work, all that kind of stuff, it's really a perpetual sort of thing. And so it's just like the path of the fool. The fool goes on this journey. He has all of these experiences. There's peaks and valleys. It ends at the universe or the world card. And then what happens? It's the path of the fool all over again.
Right.
So it's like once you've whacked that mole, another one is going to pop up. There's going to be something else to address. And more than likely, it's probably going to be something perhaps a little bit more refined than your last situation.
Exactly. And that's the thing about it that I wanted to even kind of mention is like, these things that we're butted up against our shadows, like, in my opinion, kind of constantly on a daily basis, like if you're driving down the street and you get road rage, it's like, okay, well, why are you reacting so harshly to that? What is it inside of you that feels like you need to react? Did someone cut you off? Yeah, probably. Does that suck? Yep. Stupid. They might be a jerk, but it's like, it's all about how you react to it, And so anyways, just little things like that, or like you're stuck in traffic, that can bring up shadows. And I know.
Yeah, she sure does.
Because that was one of the things that I really had to work on too, was like you get stuck in a traffic jam, you're like, what the fuck? And you're like, yeah, and who wants to be stuck in that, But it's interesting to see throughout life, throughout your journey, what it is that brings things up.
Exactly. So every single time you get triggered, it's an opportunity to heal.
Yes.
It's an opportunity for deeper introspection. It's an opportunity to find out what makes you click. And so, to be honest, I mean, getting triggered is actually a gift.
Yeah, it's kind of like a doorway opening.
Right.
And I think Beth mentioned something like that yesterday. I can't remember, but it is. It's totally a gift. It's like a gateway. A door opens, and you can choose to walk through it or not. Typically, if you don't choose to walk through it, at some other point down the road, it's going to open again. You know what I mean? And so, anyway, yeah. So it's an interesting thing, and it's been an interest of mine, this whole subject matter, and we really talk about this kind of stuff all the time.
Right.
And anyway.
And sometimes it's really surprising to see what actually gets you triggered.
Yeah. Sometimes you
don't
wouldn't
realize,
think.
like, oh, got it. Okay. Because this person said no, or because of whatever, how somebody looked at you, or some ad you saw, or a movie. That's happened to us several times.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like a movie, and then this particular scene ends up being like really potent.
Yes.
And then we end up hashing it out and talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
which
anyway.
I'll probably talk about that on Tuesday.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right on. Awesome. Okay, let's see who's hanging out.
Yeah.
So, as usual, we have Flat Earth Hippie. What's up, Hank?
Howdy, Hank.
Lucas is here, as you kind of already mentioned earlier. What's up, man? Hope all is well in Upside Down world. Michelle is here. Hey there, Michelle. Debbie is here. Hello.
Hey, Debbie.
Hello. Varuni is here. Nice to see you. Kabir is here. What's up?
Howdy.
Artist Seer Miri is here.
What's up, my lady?
Leaves of Grass, Amy is here. She said sorry that you already had the books.
Oh, it's okay.
No, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
She loves those books too, by the way.
I do.
So.
Those are two of my favorite books, actually, I will say. So we'll figure out something to do, like a giveaway or something, I think. It'll be fun.
So it has nothing to do with the actual books themselves.
No,
obviously.
they're wonderful. Wonderful. And
Totally.
I've talked about both of them, actually.
Right. Moonlander is here. Dave, what's up, dude? Daphne is here. Triangle is here. Triangel. What's up, Debbie?
Oh, what's up, Debbie?
And then Pedro is here. What's up, man?
Hey,
nice.
Pedro.
He's driving. Very cool, dude. Nice to see you hanging out while you can. Awesome. So as usual, we've got a outline here of things to discuss. You have a topic. I have a topic.
Yep.
And then we've got a final third segment that we introduced last week that we will get around to.
Yep.
A shout out segment. And so we're going to roll a die.
A die.
And we're going to see who gets what. The highest number is who goes first.
Okay, sounds good.
Were you going to say something?
It was when you said die. That's what came in my head. That's really dumb, but anyway.
Is that from a movie or something?
It's not from anything. It's just what came in my head. So
sorry I asked.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Sorry
I
said anything.
I'm used to it. It's all good. All right, you should roll first though.
Okay. All right. Big money,
oh,
big money.
Actually, sorry.
Oh.
Hank already guessed Mario with a 5.
Oh, right. Okay.
We will wait a few seconds. If anybody wants to guess who is going to roll the higher number, or if they even literally have a specific number in mind, if their spidey senses are going off, put it in the chat because I'm kind of curious.
Right.
So, but obviously, if you guys don't have anything, that's totally fine
no
too.
worries. We can just roll.
It's all good. But I kind of feel like it's like I don't know.
Yeah, we can see
psychonaut training or something like that.
Yeah, we can see what people say. I like that. I mean,
psychic training. So what is the number going to be, guys?
Yeah, what do you guys think? So I'll roll first. Do you have any inklings of what I'm going to roll?
So let me just read this comment real quick.
Okay.
In case any guesses do come through. So Virga is saying, just a fun suggestion. Guys might enjoy Mario streaming a dark, divine, masculine, diva away, man, mice will play alchemical, symbolic man cave episode.
Oh, I like that.
I.e. encourage literal stream peeing outdoors. Nice. That's hilarious.
Man cave episode, that could be cool.
Yeah, actually, I
That's
feel like...
That's not a bad idea, babe.
Oh, well, I'm leaving Thursday morning.
Oh,
or Thursday afternoon.
You
but
leave,
I'm going to be in the air, I think.
You will, because your flight leaves, your flight leaves in the afternoon.
Maybe I could do a special early episode on Thursday or something.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Varuni says Michelle 5.
Okay.
Moonlander says Michelle wins with a 4.
Okay.
Lucas, you silly goose. He's saying Mario's gonna roll a 7.
That must be those Australian dice.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. 7-sided die. You go to the casino down there, and it's like all 7-sided die.
How you going?
Yeah. Totally. And then number 3 from Miri Artisier. So we'll see. So go for it.
All right. Let's roll her out.
Michelle, she says.
Okay. Oh,
well,
Miri!
She did say Michelle 3.
I got a 3, Miri.
So Miri's right with that one.
Okay.
And I got a 5, which is what Hank said earlier. That was the first comment right here. Mario with a 5.
Dude, Hank, that's
This
2 in
guy.
a row, man.
Right.
We need to do a remote viewing session with Hank involved.
I know, right?
Hank wasn't around when we were doing the remote views.
That's true.
With everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty. So my topic. So you're going to be familiar with this topic a little bit.
Okay.
Because I've brought it up multiple times over the last, probably 3-4 months or something like that. And I've considered talking about this in a stream. I've considered doing a video on it, a few different things.
Okay.
Hey.
I'm not looking. I couldn't see what you had.
You were trying, though. And so, anyway.
You wish.
So, I want to talk about the dynamic of the sad clown.
Ooh, okay. I like this. Yeah.
And just clown symbolism, but in particular, really getting into what this sad clown business is about.
Okay. Oh, this is fun.
Yeah. And so, it's very different from what I usually talk about.
Yeah, this is good.
Right.
Awesome.
And so perhaps it'll relate back to the North Pole or the North Star somehow. But that is not the point of this conversation. And so to me, the sad clown dynamic, it's interesting because as I've mentioned to people here, I go through waves of wanting to know what's going on in the comedy world. And so I think I took a big, long break until last year or 2 years ago when I started dipping my toes into, different channels and podcasts and just kind of seeing what's going on out there. And it's something that I found to be pretty interesting, that comedy as like a scene or as like a source of entertainment had changed a lot since the last time I was into it. because I remember growing up and like Comedy Central was like the shit with that stuff.
Yeah.
Did you guys used to watch that?
Yes, we did.
Right. And so Comedy Central was like the thing. Obviously, it's what South Park was on, right? And then there was a bunch of other, they used to do stand-up specials all the time, and they would rerun specials from like the 90s and stuff all the time, and 80s, I guess. And so anyways,
and then Chappelle was on it for a little while.
Yeah, Chappelle was on Comedy Central. And so there was a really long time where I did not pay attention to anything along those lines. And so it's a very different world now when it comes to comedy in some ways. But a lot of the comedians that are like popular now, they have podcasts. That's such a huge thing, and so a lot of comedians are getting notoriety and they're getting recognition from their show, from their online podcast, and then they're selling out because their podcast is huge, or they're a comedian and they're realizing that everybody just has to have a podcast now, so they have a podcast. And so I started getting familiar with the different names and like, who's who and what's what. And comedy too, there's a huge, big spectrum of comedy. And so it's like there's a super, super ultra famous, ultra wealthy tier of comedian, Jerry Seinfeld or like Chappelle, I would say, is up there, Chris Rock and stuff like that. And then there's like levels beneath that. And then there's like lots of working class comedians as well, where it's like they're not super famous, but they're popular enough to where they can actually make a living doing it, And then there's like alternative comedians that are even less well known, but their comedy tends to be riskier, And then there's like underground comedians who are like maybe really fringe, but they have their people that like them or whatever. And so comedy, it's almost like saying music, right? It's almost like, yeah, well, what kind of music are you talking about? There's so many different genres and there's so many different flavors. And so I kind of look at comedy the same way of like, yeah, there's like basic bitch comedians who aren't very funny, and then there are comedians who are talking about real things and who are maybe pushing the envelope in some way, shape, or form. And there's just different breeds. There's different types of comedians out there. And so I've been thinking about just the nature of the comedian and like, what does the comedian do? And like, what's going on with all of that? Because I've always thought it was crazy, or always thought it was interesting that these people have to entertain a whole entire room just with a microphone.
Right.
They don't have anything else. They don't have a band. They're not playing an instrument. Obviously, some people are, but by and large, like the role of the comedian is to talk into the mic. And everybody knows it's such a famous part of comedic lore is this whole idea of bombing. And that there's no comedian that I just listed that is like a top tier A-level comedian that hasn't bombed.
Right.
It's just like the rite of passage sort of thing. And some bomb more routinely than others, and some people get a good grip on it and all this other kind of stuff. But I just think the dynamic of needing to please the audience is a really interesting thing. And then also kind of seeing the fact that these guys can like riff on anything and they can turn anything into a joke, right? And some of these guys I've heard talk about, the fact that they can't turn it off. That they are constantly always thinking of jokes. They're always thinking of punchlines. It's just part of their nature. It's entirely baked into their whole entire framework now. And so it's hard to shut off after a while. But I've also noticed listening to comedians, and especially now with these podcasts too, you're getting like very much like, I don't know, you're kind of getting more of a real glimpse into who these guys are than say the 80s and 90s, when you only really had an opportunity to see their specials.
Right.
And you maybe saw them in interviews, but it was for like MTV or it's for some big channel or the news or something, Now these people they're producing hours and hours of content all the time, and literally you can listen to all of these shows forever, seemingly, And so it's just interesting that I've heard several comedians talk about how rough the life of a comedian is, and that, traveling from town to town and always being on the road and then needing to like be on all the time, and then the expectations of always being on and always being funny, that there's this pressure to always entertain people, you know? And it's like, well, obviously that's the role, or that's kind of like what you've gotten yourself into with this job, you know?
Yeah.
And even the guy that we saw not too long ago, Stavros,
Yeah.
I've heard him talk about how when he's doing a tour, that right after he does a set is when he feels the most relaxed, because it's the longest period of time until he has to do the next set.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And so just saying that even after he has his dinner after the show, that he starts thinking about, I have to do another set tomorrow. And then you wake up and your whole day is based around performing and, you know, and making people laugh. Complete strangers that you've never met before. Your whole entire job is to make them laugh. And so to me, the fact that these guys can even do it, and the ones who are really, really, really good, it's just like, I'm kind of like in awe. It's very, very impressive. You know, it's a skill set.
Yeah, it is.
So it's a skill that they've developed, you know, over time. And I've kind of heard, or I've had this hunch too, regarding the comedian that, and I'm saying this because of personal experience, but I'm realizing that a lot of people's ability to get along with people who have exceptional communication skills, people who are maybe very entertaining and they can make people laugh, people who are very easygoing. I just used to think, you know, that if you're easygoing and if you are somebody that is like the life of the party, I just always assumed like, wow, that's just who they are. This guy is just the life of the party. This guy is just really funny. This guy just can get along with anybody. But the older I get and the more I learn about psychology, the more I study the tarot, the more I understand the nature of trauma, I've learned and I've realized that actually a lot of people's traits that most people consider to be good traits. Oh, he's so easy to get along with. Oh man, he's always funny. You're going to love hanging out with so-and-so because he's a good time.
Right.
A lot of those traits are actually a response to early childhood trauma, that you're actually afraid to not be liked by people.
Right.
You're actually afraid of uncomfortable silence. You actually are afraid of people thinking that you're not the life of the party, that you're not very fun to be around. You know, so the comedian and this urge or desire to make a room full of strangers laugh. You know, my suspicion and my hunch is that some of these comedians developed this trait early on in life as a trauma response, either turning lemons into lemonade, you know, knowing how to laugh at themselves and whatever situation they might be in, or it's literally to like diffuse a bully or to diffuse somebody who might try and harm them or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm realizing, and to me it's becoming more clear as we watch these comedians kind of do their thing, that there's this underlying psychological condition that drives them to be the funny person, right? That it's not necessarily, oh, he just has the gift of gab and he's just funny or whatever. It's because they develop these traits because of some sort of response that they're trying to get out of somebody for whatever reason.
Right.
You know? And so I think these comedians, some of them developed humor as a defense mechanism, you know?
Yeah. And I think that, oh, go ahead.
No, please go for it.
I
Chime
think
in.
that, you know, I think anxiety has something to do with it, or sadness and depression. I mean, sad clown, like you said, because I'm just speaking from personal experience, but you know, in school, when I was in school, you know, in high school, I was always telling jokes in class. I was interrupting class. I was me and one of my best friends, I still am good friends with now. We were like voted class clown.
Right.
Both of us were.
Right.
And I look back at that time and I look back at both of us. And I know the type of people we were, and we were both more anxious, more on the anxious side, more on the sad side, could get more like moody or something like that. Not even moody, but just like more just heavier in that sense. And I think it was a deflection from those emotions. And when you're anxious and you are self-conscious about something, the best thing sometimes you think you can do is like either make fun of it to diffuse the situation, or to try and like divert attention from yourself and throw it onto somebody else by making a joke.
Right.
And I'm just speaking from personal experience from that time in my life.
And what is a lot of making jokes about? It's about someone else.
Exactly. It's never, and then when it gets turned around or someone is quicker than you and they turn it on you, at least in my experience, then you freeze. You're a deer in headlights. You don't know what to do because you're like, oh shit, I'm usually the one that does that. You know?
You can't take it.
And then you usually can't take it as well because you're insecure or you're anxious or whatever. And I'm just coming at it from that personal experience as a young person, like as a teenager. Somebody who was more like that.
Yeah, I totally get it.
And just disruptive in class and like bored in class. So you're, you figure to tell jokes or poke fun at somebody or, whatever it is.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to name names here, but someone very close to me loves to poke fun at other people. And they will poke fun at other people all day long.
Yeah.
And they love to point out people's shortcomings. They love to point out people's flaws. They have a darker sense of humor that way, but it's kind of lighthearted in a way too, the way they do it. But yet they are very uncomfortable acknowledging their own flaws.
Right.
And they're very uncomfortable acknowledging the things they might have to work on.
Yes.
And so, yes, you're right, a deflection, So the lowest form of comedy is making fun of other people.
Right. Yes.
Even though I laugh too, and
It's funny.
I make jokes about other people too. I'm not immune from being a sassy little bitch that way. But I understand though that it's low hanging fruit.
Right.
Making fun of the person who looks like whatever.
Right. Right.
And man, that kind of comedy is it's the most prevalent I've ever seen it before. Kind of like the roasting
stuff
sort of comedy,
right?
Where you're just literally making fun of somebody's looks, and you're literally just making fun of things that are visual or whatever,
right?
Okay? And so so I think your point is definitely well taken for sure. And so this idea of the comedian being kind of like the modern clown, they're not wearing makeup per se, but that's what they are. They're kind of like the modern gesture, right? But they're just wearing normal clothes, street clothes or whatever. And so I've been thinking about this whole entire dynamic, and I've also been acknowledging and realizing that there's a lot of comedians too. I mean, the comedy world, the comedy scene is completely chock full of people who are depressed, completely chock full of people who are alcoholics or drug addicts, completely chock full of people who have committed suicide.
Yeah.
People who have burnt out.
Super self-destructive.
Completely self-destructive. And so to me, it's just really interesting that this dynamic exists, but it makes perfect sense that it would exist. That the world of comedy is completely full of these types of people. And people just saying, to be honest, that aren't necessarily on the up and up with things. The like degenerate behavior within the world of comedy is like through the roof as well. And so the types of things that I'm hearing around these podcasts and stuff when I'm trying to figure out like if I like this guy or what's going on here or there or whatever, because I've spent so much time listening to truther podcasts too, that to me it's actually a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
It's like I spent like a decade listening to like truther conspiracy podcasts, and so it's like it's not always what I feel like listening to anymore. Sometimes I don't mind listening to people talk about whatever bullshit they want to talk about, as long as they're making it entertaining or there's something I can learn from it, right? And so the self-destructive behavior is definitely a very, very potent thing in the world of comedy, right? And so I've been keeping all of this in mind ever since we started watching stuff again, of just like, I know that there's people up there telling jokes who have different different reasons for being on stage, different reasons for wanting to be a comedian. And so I don't want to paint them all with a broad stroke, but I do think that the sad clown sort of archetype is kind of like, I can see it on some of these guys.
Yeah.
And I could see it based on what they're actually talking about too. That's the other thing. Where I'm like, you're not talking about anything significant here. You're not talking about anything that is going to, you're talking about something as a temporary distraction. It's meant to be a temporary distraction for people who go to work and have all these responsibilities and, have a 9 to 5 maybe or whatever, so the idea is that they're not trying to go very deep. The idea is that they're just trying to give you something lighthearted just to pass the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think that the great comedians of the world have been the ones that have had some sort of like actual real commentary about where we're at.
I would agree.
A really famous one, George Carlin, comes to mind.
Yeah, he's the one.
You may not agree with all their points, but Bill Hicks kind of comes to mind.
Alex Jones.
Yeah, Bill Hicks / Alex Jones comes to mind for sure. I mean, yeah, that's real. I mean,
totally. But Bill Hicks, when Alex Jones was Bill Hicks, before Bill Hicks became Alex Jones, dude, so funny.
Right.
One of the best.
Right. Yeah.
In my opinion.
No, I thought he was great too.
Yeah.
For sure. And so anyway, this brings me to something that I came across a couple of months ago that blew my mind, where I'm just like, whoa, the dynamic here is fascinating. And it has to do with a popular comedian. His name is Bert Kreischer.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm so glad you're going to bring this up.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know what you're going to talk about.
So I don't like his brand of comedy. He's not my style. I don't really care for him as like a person, but I'm aware of his fame, and I'm aware of his of his popularity enough to where it's just kind of like, if you're going to kind of like dip your toes in this world, it's like there's just comedians you cannot avoid because they're that popular.
Right.
Bert Kreischer's kind of one of them, so he's not my thing. He doesn't speak to me personally, but he's all over the place. He even has, it's really funny because he has a movie coming out today in theaters.
Oh.
And it's about one of his most popular bits, right? And so a lot of people do not like him as well. And I'm more neutral. I try not to just like hate these people or whatever, but he's just not my thing. But this guy is like a nonstop. He's known for being like a party machine. Okay. And so that's kind of his brand, is that he's kind of like this partying guy. He's always drinking. He's a bigger guy. He's always ripping off his shirt. He's just like a go, go, go sort of person. He is this life of the party sort of thing.
Right.
And that's the persona that he puts out there. And that's what people know him for and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was fascinating that there was this video that was being passed around about him that kind of went viral a little bit, and it has to do with him on a podcast. And so he has a show with another comedian, and this other comedian knows him really, really, really well. He was on another podcast, and that host asked his good buddy, "Hey, we want to prank Bert. How do we do this?" And he said, I got the thing. If you really, really want to get him good, I know exactly what you need to do. And so they took his advice and then they did it. And so what they did was Bert was on the show and they brought out a clown. And so they brought out a clown in white makeup. He has the hat and everything else. They bring out the clown and they have the clown sit next to him on the couch. And he is terrified. I showed it to you because I thought I was so fascinated by it.
Oh yeah, it was very fascinating to watch.
So this life of the party, big guy, adult guy,
running his mouth,
multi-millionaire, at this point. Yeah, always runs his mouth, always makes fun of people, sells out stadiums, all this kind of rubs elbows with very, very elite people now because of his status and everything. That when this clown came out, dude, he was shook. Like, he completely changed. And I had never seen him change like this before. But he completely changed, super nervous, kind of like you could tell he was reliving something, or like he was like reliving some sort of trauma or whatever. And the guys around him were just like cracking up and laughing and like couldn't believe how afraid he was of this clown. And then they brought out a bunch of balloons. And then he freaked out even more.
Yeah.
Or maybe they brought them out at the same time. I can't remember. But they also brought out balloons, and he was terrified of all the balloons. And he couldn't contain himself. He was really, really messed up. Like, visibly so. To the point where I'm like, dudes, these guys, it's pretty fucked up, basically. It's like literally somebody's worst nightmare come to life. Clowns
Oh, yeah.
and balloons.
He was, like, hardcore triggered. I mean, you can tell when someone gets triggered. I mean,
like genuinely,
you can just see it. You can feel the energy. Even watching this on screen, we both were just like, holy shit. I mean, Mario had already seen it, but was showing it to me for the first time. And it was just like, whoa, dude is serious. Like, he went from, jolly good time to
right,
not having a good time.
No, not at all. And so he was really on edge for the rest of the show. And he literally said, he's like, I'm never going to come back here. Like, I'm never going to come back here. I'm never going to do your guys' show again. And I think he even canceled like some other thing that he was going to do, some publicity thing for his movie. And they kept on asking him. They eventually they were like, okay, let's get rid of the clown. Let's get rid of the balloons. And the interesting thing about the balloons is he said, you guys can't smell them.
Right.
And they're like, no, we can't smell them. He's like, oh, I can smell them. Like, I can smell them all the way from here. He's like, oh, I hate the smell. And I was just like,
he kept saying, "Oh, sorry."
Go for it, please.
He kept saying they're gonna pop. They're gonna pop any second. Like
exactly.
So, yeah, my whole thing was just like, oh my God, there must have been something that happened where a balloon exploded during a traumatic event or something.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Totally.
Anyway.
So yeah, he said that they're gonna pop any moment, and that's what made him nervous. And then they asked him, they're like, what is going on with clowns with you? How come you don't like clowns? And he said, he goes, I don't know. And so he never said what the situation was. He never said if there was like an origin story behind him hating clowns or being afraid of clowns. And I can't tell if that was him being sincere and honest, or if he does know, but he just hasn't completely addressed it or integrated it.
Right. It was hard to say.
It's hard to say, right. But he did say, they said, well, like, what's the deal? Like, you know, because they asked him multiple times. And at some point he did say, he's like, I don't know. He's like, you just can't trust him. He's like, you can't trust him.
Right.
He's like, you don't know what they're going to do. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, that's really interesting. So with the balloons, there was this chaotic factor that he didn't care for. And then with the clown, there's also this chaotic factor that he can't account for. And that is the thing with clowns. You don't know what they're going to pull, you know, out of their bag or out of their hat. You don't know what the next trick is going to be like. You don't know how they got their tricks. You don't know what they're like underneath that makeup.
Right.
You don't know what they're like underneath that whole entire outfit and stuff. Who are they really? You know, they're wearing a mask. That's the whole entire thing with clowns, is that they're wearing a mask. It's a visible mask. You know, they're not trying to hide it, obviously. It's so exaggerated. That's the point, you know, that everything they wear is exaggerated, from their shoes to their pants to whatever hat or wig to the makeup and stuff. And then the mask is a jolly mask, right? It's a happy mask. It's an over-exaggerated happy mask.
Yeah, basically.
So what does that really imply? That underneath it all, they're not that happy.
Right.
Underneath it all, there's no way that their actual real personality can match what they're wearing externally. It's just impossible. You know, so there's an over-exaggeration that I think is kind of baked into the whole clown thing, which is why I think a lot of people do not like clowns innately. And so I just thought, how ironic is it that this professional clown is afraid of an actual clown?
Right. Yeah. No, that's seriously something else.
So it's like, wow, you're a professional clown for hire. You have reached the upper echelons of the world of comedy. And I'm just thinking out loud, but it's kind of interesting that comedy and clown both start with C's, you know? And so, so he's reached this top tier level with his comedic pursuits. And yet, like, the kind of essence of this kind of entertainment, I think, is probably best distilled or reduced down to literally a clown. You know, someone who's just going to make light of everything, someone who's going to bring the jokes, someone who's going to entertain you guys, you know, all this kind of stuff. And so to me, just that irony was so strong and potent, where I'm just like, whoa. And the fact that also, too, knowing that he's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And he has waxed poetic about alcohol and how he'll never give up alcohol. And that alcohol is the greatest thing ever. It's the bee's knees. Why would anybody ever give it up? You know, it makes everything better, you know, all this kind of stuff. And so between the alcoholism, the constant riffing with jokes and being that life of the party, to me, I'm just like, whoa, it's amazing that all of this stuff, you know, in a lot of ways, it's a distraction to not examine your own life and not really get to the core of what makes you tick, you know, and maybe why you are afraid of these types of things, or maybe address whatever triggers you might have, you know, within you, sort of thing.
Right.
And so I think that In a lot of ways, the comedy itself, it's a mask. It's a mask. It's a veil. It's a veil. Oh, look here. Ah, ha, ha. That's super funny. Oh, now look here. Oh, ha, ha, super funny. And I know comedians can be self-deprecating and, all that kind of stuff or whatever. But I just think that there's definitely this veil sort of aspect in the world of comedy. And there's this kind of, I don't know. It's almost kind of like there's magical techniques. I think is one of them called the shimmer or mesmer, to mesmerize somebody.
Oh,
It's almost just kind of
like a glamour.
Glamour. Thank you. Yeah, totally. And so comedy's kind of like that, and that it can diffuse so many different situations, and it can really, a lot of people are attracted to that type of person. Someone who's funny and lighthearted and stuff. And obviously, there's a good place. There's a role. Comedy has a role.
I love it.
The court gesture thing too. It's just like these court gestures. These were the only people. My understanding is like real life, actual court gestures. They were like the only people that could actually criticize the royal family, the king, and the queen, and they would get away with it. Anyone else, if they said the exact same thing, they're just kind of, they'd be done for.
Right.
And so they're kind of offered a unique place in this reality, and I would say too, the way I tend to look at it is that being a comedian is very mercurial. I see Mercury in so many different things now. I probably talk about that every single week, somewhere. But Mercury really is, it's like he is adaptive. He changes, he transforms, he can transmute things. The power of Mercury is kind of all pervading because that is really its essence. It can go here, it can go there. There's a masculine element to Mercury, there's a feminine element to Mercury. Mercury can slip through the cracks in ways that other planets symbolically can't, sort of thing. And so that is the role of Mercury. And so Mercury really kind of exists between everything, I would say. And so I think that comedians very much kind of operate in a mercurial sort of way. So they're finding the humor in normal conversations. They're finding kind of like that punchline in things that are topical. They're able to kind of find the thing between the other things and kind of extract it and pull it out for the sake of comedy. So their minds work in a different way than most normal people, I think. And I would say the best way I can describe it is that it's a very mercurial sort of mind, and which I think is interesting too, because I think that if you're going to find probably a card in the tarot that relates to comedy, or a couple of cards, I would say it's at the crossroads between the Fool and the Magician.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Both of them.
To me, the energy of the Fool and the Magician is very much like this gesture sort of energy. And even the Fool looks like a gesture, in some of these cards.
Yeah, he does.
And then he's the Fool.
And he's the traveler. He's like traveling.
Exactly. And Mercury is a traveler. He's a messenger of the gods.
Right.
And so the Fool is related to air energy. It's the beginning of the major arcana. And he is unaware of the journey he's about to go on. And he's unaware of the good and the bad things that potentially might happen to him along this trajectory. And so the Fool, to me, he's very raw. That's one of the key words I always use with the Fool, is that he's very raw. And so he's very raw, but he has this optimism. And he potentially maybe has this optimism too, because he hasn't really struggled yet, because he's at the beginning of his journey. Every single story arc, there has to be some sort of struggle. There has to be some sort of conflict. There has to be some sort of rub. There has to be some sort of tension, And so the Fool, in my opinion, when you're looking at the major arcana, the Fool has yet to experience, some of these major pitfalls in life. He hasn't really gone through the ringer yet. There's plenty of cards that'll, bring him to that point or whatever.
Right.
But he has yet to experience that. So what is he doing? He's just like looking at a flower, and he's just walking, and it's a nice, beautiful day and whatever. So he's like, there's a lust for life, basically, and there's this lust for life because life as of yet hasn't really handed him lemons, because he's so new. to this journey or whatever. So I see a lot of the fool, obviously, with, you know, some of the stuff I'm trying to decode or trying to chew on, you know, in the world of comedy and everything else. But I think that the main thing that I really want to say, and I'm going to look at my notes in a second.
Okay.
But the main thing I wanted to say is comedy actually being a response to trauma, and it actually being a defense mechanism. And that going along to get along, as I've done so many times in my life, I can acknowledge more than likely is probably a response to trauma as well. That it's not just because I'm easygoing.
Right.
It's because I'm avoiding conflict.
Right.
Because I want to avoid conflict, because I don't want somebody to not like me, you know? Mm-hmm. So with comedy, dude, the whole thing is that you're trying to win over a whole entire room. What psychologically must be going on for somebody to want to be in that role or position?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You know, that's kind of another question that I have with all of this stuff. It's like, what drives somebody to want to make a room full of people laugh? And I understand too, I mean, I've heard it many times, just like a band or something, but you know, that the energy that they get from it, you know, is like pretty incredible and pretty powerful.
Yeah.
You know, and that some of these guys, they have they're addicted to it, kind of, in a way. They learn to become addicted to it. And so that's what they kind of are doing it for. It's a high, basically.
Right.
A high from the masses, right? But as we've learned, you know, the path of individuation, or the spiritual path, doesn't necessarily include the masses. In fact, a lot of what I would consider to be the spiritual path has to do with your own understanding of self. And the more you try and please the masses, the more you try and be on their good side, the more you're a community person, the more you're giving away your own self-identity. You know, and so to me, it's just one of these interesting things where, as I learn more about a lot of this stuff, I'm just realizing that to please the masses basically means to, in a way, sell yourself short, so that you can be looked at favorably by the crowd, right? And we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but there is an interesting thing related to the crowd being the collective shadow, that people hide from themselves via the crowd. That you can use the crowd, you can use the masses, you can use the public, you can use your friend circle, you can use all your family even to avoid self.
Oh yeah.
And what do you think going to a bar is?
Big time avoidance.
You know, it's to me, I'm not saying you can't go to a bar and have a good time and have a meaningful conversation with people. In fact, I know bar history is actually interesting. Do you remember I went down a little bar rabbit hole?
Yeah.
You know, the amount of the influence of bars and pubs and inns and things like that, super important. It's where a lot of shit has gotten done. You know, it's a meeting place, it's a communal place. You know, so I totally understand all of that. But I'm just saying, in today's culture, largely, it's like you know, you're going there because it's a meat market.
Yeah.
You know, it's a meat market. You can meet other people, you know, but everyone is kind of there for the same reason. And it's to avoid aspects of self, more than likely.
Yeah.
You know, and you think that you just met, you know, your new best friend.
Right. Yeah.
Your new temporary best friend, who will only be your best friend so long as you are going to be drinking.
Exactly. Well, the freaking show Cheers. I mean, that's pretty much, you know, kind of that in a nutshell. Go where everyone knows your name. You know, you get the warm and fuzzy.
Right.
We get the warm and fuzzies when you walk into the bar because, you know, everybody is, you know, drunk and your friend.
Right.
Quote unquote, in quotes,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And so, yeah, no, it's the real deal for sure.
Right. Right.
And where do a lot of these comedy things happen? In bars.
Dude, that's like the backbone of the business.
It is. You
it's
know?
alcohol.
Yeah, it is alcohol. And that's the other thing with Bert Kreischer. with that video. And I don't know, maybe we can even post the link in the chat to that video, because I think if people were listening to what you're talking about, it's very interesting to watch, especially just from a psychological, standpoint,
Right.
because what he did when that happened too, he right away wanted beer.
Yes.
He asked for a beer, or he asked for booze, or something like that.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
I knew right away too. Oh my goodness! Like it's 100% confirmed that he is highly triggered by this, and his baba when he's triggered is alcohol.
Right.
So there's a reason why he's an alcoholic. It's because he can't deal with the reality of his life, or the reality of the fear, or whatever it is. And that was his first thing. He like grabbed it and just started chugging. And I'm like, classic. That's classic. Classic alcoholic.
Well, that was the other prank, is that they
they gave him like non-alcoholic beer.
They gave him non-alcoholic beer.
Right.
And they said, aha, you've been drinking non-alcoholic beer.
And then he got pissed.
And he got super pissed, right? And I've heard another story from him, his wife. Oh, I think he shares it on a different show or something. Where he gets surprised. He has like a birthday party and people surprise him, and they don't know that he has this thing with balloons. And so they bring balloons on a tour bus or something
into his hotel room.
Yeah, and they say happy birthday, and he has a panic attack because of these balloons. And his wife was at home, he was on the road, whatever. And the first thing she said was, okay, we'll just have a few drinks. Her advice to him was to have a few drinks and pass out, basically.
Horrible advice.
Which is awful advice.
And to know that his own wife that's the advice his wife gave him.
Right.
Granted, who knows what she does when she's triggered? Probably the same thing, And so it's like, it's not even a judgment. It was just an observation of like, whoa, man, that sucks. That's too bad that's the situation. But that is the norm for so many people, so many people. And I've been there, I've been there before. You're triggered, you're down, you're whatever. Well, I'll have a drink. It'll make me feel better, temporarily. But when you're in those situations or whatever, and if you make it to the other side, then you realize that you were actually just using that thing, whatever it was, in my case, alcohol, as a crutch to avoid the hard things that are bubbling up in you, that you're not wanting to deal with. And that was it was like clockwork. It was just textbook watching that. And it made me sad, to be honest, because I have no attachment to the guy, obviously, and not a fan of his comedy either, but it was just like, oh man, that sucks. That's crazy. It's just kind of crazy to see it, when you have eyes to see those sorts of things in somebody else. It's sad.
Right.
At the heart of it, really.
Right.
Sad clown.
So exactly. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is it? An unexamined life is not worth living. Is that the quote that you had on your email for a long time? It's like Socrates or something. I could be wrong.
Something like that. Maybe.
Yeah. You had it in your email for
I did for a little while, but I changed it because this reason, because I don't know it as well. It's like, if I have a quote on my email, I should probably know it. Right? Yeah. But no, it was something along those lines, and it is Socrates who said something.
An unexamined life is not worth living.
Is a life not worth living, or something like that. Yeah.
And so to me, it's just really interesting that he's this whole dynamic, just to wrap up his little storyline or whatever.
Yeah.
But that it hadn't occurred to him to want to get down to the bottom of this.
Yeah, no.
It's just to avoid it and to let everybody in the world know that he doesn't like to be around clowns, and he doesn't like to be around balloons.
Right.
And so to me, this is kind of a classic behavior of somebody who's not willing to take control of their own life that way either, when it comes to the difficult stuff.
Right.
And so they would rather modify everyone else's behavior instead of modifying their own behavior. And that's the world we live in now, by the way, where the kind of, what would you call them? But the unenlightened masses want everybody to change their behavior based on what they think is right or wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's very much this individuation versus crowd sort of thing, or the individual versus the public, or something along these lines going on with the comedian and the crowd, that I think is very, very interesting, and that there must be something within them that yearns for external validity, that they want to be validated by the masses and the crowd, that because there must be something where they don't have the ability, or they haven't quite gotten there yet to tap into their own internal validation, that they want external validation when they should be seeking internal validation.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying this is across the board with all comedians, or that this is a terrible art form. I love it. I love it. I'm saying that it's something that I'm interested in. I would like to go to more shows after going to my first one, a few weeks ago, and all of that. But there are certain dynamics psychologically that I'm kind of chewing on with all of this stuff. And to me, the sad clown, I think, kind of like encapsulates a gigantic part of everything.
Yeah.
About some of these guys, and just like what they choose to talk about, on down the line, how they live their life. We're used to hearing people talk about some pretty, I don't know, just deep information, or, people who are on the path of healing or taking their spirituality seriously, all that kind of stuff. And so whenever I hear these guys talk about how they go about things, I'm like, whoa, this is interesting. Like, this is very base, low level, low vibe kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's their jam, though. That's their deal. That's who they're catering to with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think in its best aspect, and its best sort of it's like the most constructive sort of way you can go about it, is that you have, and you can, just like with any other art form, you can use comedy as a way to grow and to learn more about yourself.
Oh yeah, because it's a challenge. I mean, just the art of writing a joke, right. It's not an easy task. Really isn't.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, no, there's a total art form to it, and it takes a special person to be able to do it and to want to do it too. So yeah, I see all the angles kind of in the same way you do,
Right.
As a fan of comedy as well,
Right. So that's what I wanted to chew on, but let me see if I have anything in my notes.
That's a good one. I mean, to me too, I was always, and still am, like always a really big Chris Farley fan. And Chris Farley is kind of the classic version of this too, because if you ever watch, or if you've ever read any books about him or whatever, there's always that side of him where people will talk about how, like, yeah, he was like always making everybody laugh and this and that and the other thing, but he was actually really sad and very lonely. And that's kind of a common theme with a lot of comedians, especially the ones that are no longer with us or whatever,
Right.
Or they felt alienated a lot, or they were very just like kind of like the black sheep a lot of times. Like John Belushi was very much like that as well, where he was always just like the odd duck or whatever kind of thing. Like there's a story around a lot of these people that is very similar to that. And so a lot of them, use drugs and alcohol to kind of coddle those feelings of sadness or longing for something or loneliness and all of it, and that's very common with a lot of people, not just comedians, but that's something I've noticed as a theme.
Oh yeah.
With comedians and specifically.
Oh no. Yeah. A lot of really brilliant comedians burned out early, and they were brilliant because of their psychology.
Yeah.
But so it allowed them to do all this stuff and entertain a bunch of people, but it's the thing that ultimately, got them to live a pretty quick life.
Right. Yeah.
So I think I hit on all my main points.
Nice. Yeah. That's a good one.
Right on. Nice.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that one up.
Yeah. It's a bit of a departure.
Yeah. That's good. It's last Thursday.
Hey, that's right. All right. I'm going to see what's going on in the chat. I see some new names here who have joined us as of late. So let me see where we're at here. Cool. Hey, Jason. What's up, man? Thanks for hanging.
Howdy, Jason.
Okay, so Dave is saying he knew guys or knows guys that were always on, and that a lot of them were Geminis. That's very interesting. That relates back to the Mercury thing I was saying, because Mercury rules Gemini. Yeah, he was saying, I think this isn't probably in response to the roast style of comedy. That comedy is terrible, in my opinion. Makes me feel uncomfortable. You know, it's really funny. I'm okay with roasts, but pranks make me feel very uncomfortable. So when people prank other people and they're doing something and, you know, they're making it's like a hidden camera show or whatever, those have always made me super anxious. I've never quite gotten used to those. What's up, George? Third Eye Edify.
Hey, George.
He says you guys are awesome.
Thank you. Right back at you.
Nice. So Hank is saying, I think you're onto it with the trauma-based comedy, Mario. Thank you. Yeah, I think it does make sense. I don't know if we said hi to Braden yet. Hey, Braden.
What's up, Braden?
Yeah, man. So Jason says, I've come across the idea clowns equals Nephilim. You know, a friend of ours mentioned this, and we never checked out those videos. So I'll explain it to you later.
Okay.
But and very interesting, dude. This is inspiring me. I'm gonna maybe if you can post a link or something to one of those videos, let me know. But I know just generally what you're talking about, but I have not looked into it myself really. Okay, gotcha. So Lucas is saying there's a massive weird sub-story related to clowns. The Conspiracy RS channel has done a lot of videos on this. That's probably what my friend was referencing.
Interesting.
So you guys know a bit about it. Feel free and, dude, fill me in. Honestly, if you guys know more about it, I'm curious to learn more. Clowns, jesters, comedians seem to have had an ability to tell truths through the years without being tarred and feathered. Yeah, exactly. For sure. So they were able to say some of the things that the masses were not able to say.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
Logan Cook, what's good?
Hi, Logan.
Thunder Chicken, what's going on, man?
What's up, Lee?
Hey, dude, Thunder Chicken, if you're still here, I've always noticed your avatar illustration. I'm just kind of curious, do you know the artist by chance? Because it reminds me of two artists, actually, very, very similar. And I'm just wondering if it's from one of those artists or if you know yourself where it came from.
And also, Lee, I've been loving seeing what you've been posting lately on Facebook with all your creations. Just wanted to say.
Hell yeah. All right. So, right. More gesture stuff. Okay, so George is saying they had puppets do their dirty work, so to speak, sometimes to a good point that they had a license to speak freely. Yeah, exactly. They did.
And, you know, one of the things, too, we watch the show Kill Tony with Tony Hinchcliffe. He's the host, and Brian Redband. But one of the things that show is awesome for, there's many things, but it is more of a roast style show. But he always talks about the guest. So it's basically just a random audience poll or person who's signed up. And they'll ask questions about their life. You know, they interview them after they get a minute. And he'll ask, you know, kind of explicit questions or whatever, a little bit, you know, prying sort of questions. And if the person is hesitating and they're trying to like make a joke, be funny, Tony's always like, it's going to be way funnier if you just tell the truth.
Right.
And I think that's such a great point.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes to say, you know, credit those statements of them being able to, they had a license to tell the truth a little bit.
And that the truth is, can be really funny.
Yeah, usually is.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just think about the most embarrassing thing you've ever done. That,
yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty funny.
It's
not to you, but to other people.
Right. Exactly. That's the thing.
Okay, right on. Yeah, mercurial being a neutral fluid balance could indicate the necessity for the comedian to observe and speak from a place of neutrality. Yeah,
that's a great point.
For sure. What about buffoons or buffooning? That's a good one. Yeah, totally. It can certainly also be incredibly healing. 100%.
Yeah, and exactly. Laughter, I mean, as they say, is the best medicine, which
for sure.
I would have to agree with that.
All right. So, what's up, Gordy? Nice to see you, man.
Hey, Gordy.
All right. Let's see. Hey
yeah,
there, Benna.
I was just going to say, too, Gordy, I was really sorry to hear about Raphael's passing.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, I was on his Instagram.
Right.
Yeah, very sad.
A younger owl?
No, it was like one of the owls he's been like following and
for a while.
Hanging out with. Yeah.
Oh, man. Sorry to hear that, Gordy. That's rough, dude. Yeah. The cycle of life, man. Doesn't make it any easier.
No, it never does.
Logically, knowing something versus feeling something
It's way different.
very different. Yeah.
And then until you're in the situation when the loss is actually happening, you can't know what it's going to be like.
So Jason says, in my opinion, comedians, the good ones, are extremely intelligent. For sure.
Yes,
that
great
is
point.
100% the case, I would say.
They have to be because they're
Yeah.
so quick.
Hey there, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah G.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, indeed. Laughter is medicine. For sure. I agree with that. I've never seen Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but I kind of Googled sad clown stuff or something earlier, and
What?
Killer Clowns from Outer Space came up.
I can't not bring up ICP, Insane Clown Posse. Whoop whoop.
Totally. What's up, Benjamin? Nice to see you, man.
What's up, Ben?
I hope all is well. Nice. Cool. Well, that's what I have.
That was a great rabbit hole. I
think
love
so?
that. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Because I remember when we watched that video and we actually talked about bringing this up on last Thursday.
Right.
I don't know if you remember that. Or doing a video about
Yeah.
like analyzing that video.
Right.
Because we both had so much to say about it. You know
what the perfect I think The Simpsons did it really well with Krusty the Clown.
Oh yeah.
Super jaded.
Yeah.
And just like but very obviously deep-seated sadness.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So Krusty the Clown was like the perfect sad clown, And so anyway, so the sad clown archetype, actually, there's like a whole history. Like there's like a list. There's lists that you can look up of sad clowns in pop culture and stuff.
Yeah.
Or even It.
Yeah, that's a good.
Where it's like a different sort of thing. It's not well, actually, I've never seen it, but he's obviously a bad clown, an evil clown.
Yeah, he is. We should watch that.
We should. Totally.
Well, and then one of the other things that sad clown makes me think of, the rapper, his name is Atmosphere. I think it's two guys. I don't know if you've ever listened to him.
I think back in the day a little bit.
Yeah, and his whole thing was being a sad clown. So his album God Loves Ugly, which is one of the only albums of his that I actually really, really, really enjoy and got into years ago, that there's like a whole sad clown theme going on with it.
Right.
So he uses that as kind of like a personality, not a personality, but it's something that he like will rap about and
right,
whatever. So kind of interesting.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and he has a lot of anger. His rap is very angry, I would say.
Oh, Ben says he knows them personally.
Atmosphere?
It sounds like it.
Oh
yeah.
no shit! Oh my god, that's cool. I used to Slug is the main guy's name.
Okay.
And then I can't remember the second guy. I saw them one time in Milwaukee when I was still living there, and it was a great show. But yeah, I was into that album for sure.
Nice.
I used to have it on vinyl and everything.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah. So, well, with sad clowns out of the way.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So I felt like talking about. And the reason I want to talk about this is because it was from a conversation I had yesterday with my grandma.
I know the one.
Yeah, so Mario's going to know exactly what we're probably going to talk
It's a good
about.
one.
Yeah, but ancestral trauma. And then also I might kind of talk about dreams a little bit.
I think that's more of the heart of it, personally.
It kind of is. And so
I would say ancestral dreams.
Ancestral dreams, that's probably a good...
That at least for me personally, when you were talking about all that stuff, that is what stuck out to me the most, and I think would be the most helpful for people.
Yeah, you're probably right. So we'll just say ancestral dreams is what I'm going to talk about.
But it's your topic,
No, but totally. But so this is an interest of mine. Ancestors are an interest of mine. I think they're an interest of a lot of people because we have this innate, like,
it's your roots.
Yeah, this innate yearning to kind of know where you've come from. Everyone knows, like, companies like Ancestry.com and all this stuff is very popular for a reason, because people are always wanting to know more about themselves and their families and whatever. And I think that's a healthy thing. I've never done like Ancestry.com or anything, but I've done quite a bit of just tapping into my own ancestry through asking my family questions, through working with, particular items that belonged to maybe my great grandmother or great grandfather or what have you. Just my own, senses. about things, and knowing, where my family comes from has helped me as well to kind of get a better lay of the land of things. But I guess like wanting to talk about why our family history matters and why we should care about it. And even if you don't have a good relationship with your family, it's like it doesn't really matter because they're still a part of you regardless. And all of their experiences are your experiences. And if you have children, it's the same thing. So you're going to be passing down things to your children that, are whatever. I don't even want to say good, bad, whatever. It's just that there's things that are handed down, whether we know it or not. And they really dictate how we arrive in the world and how our personalities come out and the things that we do, the choices we make. So it's very influential. And so, do you think I should just start with the story my grandma told me?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting story.
Okay, so I'll just start with that because I was talking to my gran yesterday, and so my gran and I have a really great connection. I can talk to her about almost anything pretty much. She's always been kind of like a really big cheerleader for me. She always I don't know what there's something about her that her and I just connect in a different way than anyone else in the family does. And her and I have conversations that I know that she can't have with anyone else in the family and that I can't have with anyone else in the family. But together, her and I talk about a lot of different things. And so one of the things about my gran is that she's always had anxiety around like getting lost, right? So like she's 88 years old, but she still works. She still drives. She's very active and all that stuff, but she drives to the places she knows. She's not going to go out to places where she's unfamiliar with it. She doesn't have Google Maps. She's not going to do that, but so she has this anxiety around getting lost and not knowing her way back home or something. And so she said to me, she goes, "Have I ever told you why I think I'm like this?" And I said, "No." And she goes, "Well, she's the youngest of 7. And so her mom used to call her Babe. And she said, I always remember this one specific time where me and my brothers and sisters were going out somewhere to a store or something like that. And my mom said, you all watch after Babe. And so she said we were at the store or whatever. And all of a sudden, all my brothers and sisters were gone. And I couldn't find them. And I started to panic. And I was looking all over and I started crying and panicking. And once I started really crying, then they all came out and they started laughing at me. And I was like, oh, whoa, okay. Like, well, that makes a lot of sense as to why you still have this anxiety or whatever. And then she said, and then I have reoccurring dreams where I'm wandering around in a dream and I'm asking people how to get somewhere. And all they do is laugh at me. They just laugh. They don't help me. And then I wake up. And she said she just had a dream like this last week and she had a panic attack. And it hurt my heart to know that my gran wakes up in the middle of the night with panic attacks in general.
Yeah.
But then to know that it's these dreams that are reoccurring for her. And so anyway, Mario and I were talking about this last night, and it was just kind of like, whoa, holy crap. This is like actually a huge key. For me.
It was a gift.
It's a gift because it is going to allow me then to work on kind of working through these traumas that I've had surrounding these sorts of things. Like abandonment is kind of one of the reoccurring things. And when I was a kid, when I was a little girl, I had massive separation anxiety, like to the point where I would go over to my gran's house, the grandma I'm talking about, and I'd get dropped off with my brother and my mom and dad were doing whatever. And I would be so nervous the whole time. I could not relax. And I would just throw up. I would like puke, like right in the living room, just bleh, like just throw up. And I'd throw up multiple times. And I just had this like deep sensation, so scared that my mom and dad, something was going to happen to them. They weren't going to come back, whatever. I don't know, you know? And I would just like stare out the window, waiting. And every car I heard, it was like, is it mom? Is it dad? And it, you know, whatever. And another thing that would happen to me when I was a kid was that I was not able to sleep over at people's houses. Like I could not spend the night, even if I was literally across the street at like my best friend's house. It would be like 1 a.m. or something. And I would just wait. I would be there and I would just be like staring at the ceiling and I'd get super nervous and I'd start to cry and I'd be like, I want to go home.
Right.
And I would call my mom or my dad and they'd walk across the street and they'd come and get me. And that was the thing. And so when my grandma told me this, I was like, holy crap, dude. I can see this not only in myself, but I can see it in my other family members.
Yeah, when you told me this story of the dream that she relayed to you, I was like, "Oh, wow. That speaks to your psychology as well."
It does.
That was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah. And so it just kind of goes to show that, you know, this ancestral trauma stuff that people talk about and the how it carries over, it's the real deal. And I mean, it's the real deal for a reason. And I also believe, though, that we can be the people, you can be the person in the lineage that's like, okay, I'm going to work this one out. You know, I'm going to be very selective and I'm going to, I always say, you know, the phrase, the buck stops here kind of thing, you know, and it's not to say that who knows, maybe it won't stop, I guess. But I think that when you can acknowledge these things and be able to tap into them and then you have an insight, kind of like the one my grandma gave me, it's almost like, oh, whoa, okay, well, that can really help you to unlock things. And I do think that when you start doing this type of work, you unlock it for yourself, but then you do unlock it for the rest of your family in some way. And so I brought up to Mario, you know, I was like, you know, and I had the deep sense that just my gran telling me the story, telling me that, and then telling me about her dreams, like she might have some sort of healing that comes from it.
Right.
Just because she was able to express it to me and tell me. Because I don't know if she's ever told anybody that before, you know?
Yeah.
And
right.
There's a good chance she hasn't. And so it was kind of like I felt honored that she did. And she kind of told me because she wants to explain it to me, I guess, or get it off her chest. But she kind of has no idea that she bestowed a huge gift onto me yesterday.
No, you guys were just chatting.
We were just chatting. You know, she just brought it up to kind of like help me to understand maybe why she, you know, doesn't want to drive certain places or whatever. But I already know because she's 88 years old. And like, does she really want to drive all over town in places where she doesn't know? Probably not.
So to me, the big takeaway from this conversation, and I know you have more to say or whatever.
Yeah, it's okay.
But the big takeaway for me was that I feel inspired to ask my parents about their reoccurring dreams.
Yeah, you should.
And see what they are. And I think that, actually, let me ask the chat real quick.
Yeah.
Do you guys all have reoccurring dreams? Like, do you guys have like 1 or 2 or 3 dreams that you've had over your lifetime that are reoccurring? I'm very curious to know this because I definitely have.
Yeah.
You know, I can name 2 or 3 off the top of my head, which we talked about last night.
Yep.
You have more so themes, I guess.
Yeah, mine are more themes. Yeah.
Right? But I want to know if you guys have dreams that you've had since your childhood or maybe since your teens or early adult years that continually repeat themselves. Or maybe they change too, because that's the other thing with some of my stuff. It's like I know it's the same overall theme, but the landscape looks a little different or the dynamic is a little bit different. Because if we all have these reoccurring dreams, it's almost like we have a relationship with these thought forms, these original thought forms that are somehow a part of us and speaks deeply to our psychology. So it's like your grandma's reoccurring dream is very different from my reoccurring dream.
Yeah.
You know, and it's different from your reoccurring dream.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, what are my parents' reoccurring dreams, and are they going to speak to my psychology or spirit or soul somehow?
Right.
You know, so I'm totally gonna ask them next time I talk to them on the phone. I'm gonna ask them and see if they have anything like that, and maybe they do have something, maybe they don't have something like that. But my inclination is that I think a lot of people probably do have this.
I think a lot of people do, and I think some people don't. And I was talking to Christy about this actually in my interview with her on the Healing Home, about how I think that maybe people do, or like people will say I don't dream or whatever. And I think that maybe people do dream, but they just don't remember it. You know, and I think it might be something more like that. You can kill it, babe. You can have the rest.
It's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, but I don't know. I'm not like a dream expert or anything, but that's just something that I think about, that I almost think dreaming is necessary. It's like a necessary process for us because of how we're built, like psychologically and emotionally and spiritually and everything, that it's almost like this clearing out kind of thing, or this processing thing, you know, because a lot of times, at least for me with the dreams, it's like, when I'm going through something or whatever, typically I'll have a dream that is confirming that thing or processing it or something like that. Like when I dream about it, like I know that then I'm fully processing it, or I've fully processed it or whatever. And so a reoccurring dream then to me would be something that would be more deep-seated, you know, something like what my grandma is talking about, or more of like a ancestral thing, or a very, very deep kind of, you know, whatever it was going on, you know. So yeah, no, I encourage you to do that. And I'm now that I'm just about to go home too, I feel like this timing for this is perfect, because I'm going to ask my gran when I'm home too. I'm going to I want to talk to her more about this, and I want to talk more about these other things, you know, specifically dreams, but then ask my mom and stuff like that about what's going on with that kind of stuff, because I would bet that there's going to be crossover.
I would bet so too. And I mean, honestly, what a gift to be able to ask while they're still around.
I know, and that's
while
the
you
thing.
have the opportunity.
That is the thing. I know, and I've heard other people talk about that, of like, if you are wanting to do the ancestral work or whatever, and you are fortunate enough to have you know, your grandparents or your parents or whomever, other members of your family around, to ask them while you can, because there's going to be a time where they're not there. And it's that shit. There's so much shit that just does not get written down, or it's never talked about or whatever. And so again, my gran telling me this story, I was just like, holy crap, you have no idea what the gift you just gave me is. And it's awesome.
Right.
And so that's why I really wanted to talk about it today. And so, you know, one of the things too, just asking questions. So not being afraid to ask the questions of your people, if you have them around, is really, really great. And so, as I was talking about, you know, so the ancestral traumas pass down, right, as well, but also habits, for better or for worse. So some habits are good, some habits are bad. And I know for one of them, it's been, you know, the theme of alcoholism. Yeah. And I know that that's like a big deal for a lot of families, a lot of people. And I know for me, you know, when I really started doing the interpersonal work and seeing patterns in myself, and looked at it on a broader scale, and then started seeing the same things in my family, I was like, well, yeah, I guess I am going to be the one that wants to stop this kind of thing.
And what we've talked about before, and we've heard from other people, that oftentimes it's like the black sheep, you know, that is the one that actually breaks some of your family curses.
Oh, yeah.
That it's actually literally, it's the one who's built a little bit different from other members of the family.
Right.
That they're the ones who are actually able to acknowledge and pinpoint and integrate some of those things, and kind of break that chain or whatever.
That's true.
You know.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you know, it's funny when you say the black sheep. I think like my gran was the black sheep of her flock.
Yeah.
And she kind of still is. And I think that's why her and I get along so well.
Right.
Because we have that thing where we're just a little bit on the, our angle is just a little bit different than everybody else's, within the family.
Yeah, you guys both have a greater perception of the family dynamic than most family members in there.
I think so. And I think that that's one of the reasons why we connect. And that's why she was comfortable telling me this story and everything else, which is really cool. And so, let's see what else we're kind of talking about all the notes that I had. But so one of the things that I did want to offer was a plant, or it's more like a fungi, in the fungi family that you can work with this sort of stuff. And it's called ghost pipe. And I recommend, if you've never heard of or seen ghost pipe, I definitely recommend looking it up because it's very interesting looking, and it actually grows on the mountain by us in particular spaces. And I've seen it before, and it's called ghost pipe for a good reason, because it's a really good way to commune with your ancestors. But what this plant is really good for is when you're really wanting to tap into kind of more like the underworld, the underbelly, the shadowy parts or aspects of yourself. And it's really wonderful for helping to like break habits. And so that's what we're talking about. Like these kind of things that are passed through our families, through the lineages, they can either become habits, or they can become quirks, or they can become, addictions, or they can become mindsets, or whatever it is. And so ghost pipe
patterns.
Ghost pipe is just a wonderful ally for that. And it's really interesting because it's like it comes out of the ground like it kind of looks like a ghost. It's white, and it kind of has like black like fringes on it sometimes. It likes to grow in dark areas, like in shady areas. And it is just a wonderful ally for this kind of stuff. And even just to like sit with the ghost pipe, which is how I like to work with it. I've just gone to the mountain and I found it. I can remember, I know exactly where it is. It's at the top of the mountain, actually. And so it's like kind of right when you get to the top of, when you're almost to the top, actually. You're almost just to the top area, and it kind of just is like you come around this bend and it's there at certain parts of the year. And it's probably right about now is when it's probably going to start like poking its head out. And how it like comes up out of the ground, it's like kind of like has its head like this, and then it kind of just is erect. And it's a pipe. It's like I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% positive that it's in the fungi family. So it's more of like a mushroom fungus type of plant life thing going on. But really great too with disassociation. So if you have gone through a trauma, or you found that you've like compartmentalized things, which we all do and we all have ghost pipe is a wonderful ally for that as well. So look that one up if you've never seen it, because it is seriously really intriguing and very, very cool.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Well, I love this thread of information.
Yeah, me too. It was a good one. Came to me today while I was running errands. That's what I wanted to bring to the table tonight.
I almost, because I figured you would pick it, to be honest, but if you didn't pick it tonight, I probably would have picked it for next week.
Oh, interesting.
Ancestral dreams.
Nice.
Dreams of your family members and what they might say about you. I think there's a lot there. I want to know more about this, and I'm curious if people here have reoccurring dreams.
Me too. So with that said, let's head to the chat. All right. Well, the first one I'm seeing too is thank you for the confirmation. James said, "Is it a plant? It is a plant that parasitizes a fungus." Oh, interesting. So it grows. Does it grow then off of a fungus? Is that the thing? Cool.
Good question. And also, too, shout
Happy
out,
birthday, Elise.
Yes. Shout out James and Elise. Happy birthday, Elise.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you for confirming that because
Maybe go to the top first.
I will, but I wanted to get that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, here we go. All
Because
right.
I think this is where I asked, actually. Okay, so Binna does not have reoccurring dreams.
Okay, Elsie King.
Lucas does not have reoccurring dreams.
Hank
Gordy
does not.
does.
Gordy does. I believe that one here. Okay, the Real Spoons. Yes. How you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. None that I can remember. Okay. And Sarah G. She does. Okay. Yes. Me, my ma, and my grandma. We have all had recurring dreams where we can scream/moan loudly in our sleep. Oh, interesting. Okay.
She's done that before.
I definitely have that
It
going on.
scared the shit out of me. Dude, it is honestly, it was, and we don't have to unpack the whole entire story.
No, but we
like,
can if we want to.
I was like, holy smokes. I thought she was getting murdered. Like, basically.
It scared the shit out of me.
And she was just, and I was in my office and she was sleeping and she was just having a night terror.
Yeah, and it was freaking really intense. And I'll say, if anyone out there is familiar with MMS, Miracle Mineral Solution, Jim Humboldt, great stuff, actually. MMS is wonderful. I should do like an episode on it or talk about it at some time. But anyway, I was using it for a tooth infection, and I applied it right to my gums. And I swear something was going on. Something was being broken up and transmuted or whatever. But yeah, it was seriously the most terrifying night terror I've ever had.
It was real shit.
And it was real. And there was like when Mario came in the room, you know, and then we were like sitting there in bed or whatever, there was like a freaking
presence.
There was like a presence in the air and everything. It was really intense.
It was not good.
Anyway, so that was crazy. That was a few years ago now, thankfully.
Jason says, I do not remember any repeating dreams. I think I had one lucid dream.
Okay.
Interesting. And then Stacy Sunshine says, I only did until I resolved the trauma.
There you go.
I used to have a fear of my house catching on fire and being trapped in my room caused by fire safety films in age 5. I resolved it in labor the second time. Wow, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I've had dreams get resolved over years.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is interesting to see them just evolve like that. Okay, Amy says, I frequently visit this huge city with outlying towns and communities. I taped 6 poster boards together and mapped it all out. It has an awesome bookstore.
Oh,
I think this is
interesting.
your dream, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's cool.
Wow, interesting. Oh shit, the police came to my mom's door once because of it, because of her screaming.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally believe it. My uncle used to sleepwalk, and they've had some interesting encounters with people in the neighborhood, whatever. Because of it, because he would actually go outside. He would go outside and he'd be in his boxers, and it's like the middle of the night or morning or whatever, and he doesn't realize that he's sleepwalking.
Damn.
So they had to put locks on the doors.
Whoa, who is this?
My Uncle Bob. And then also my grandpa apparently used to sleep in the living room because of it.
Wow.
Because they knew he would try and get
stop
out.
him.
To stop him, yeah.
Damn.
So Stacy says, I used to have a dream I was falling. I finally was lucid enough to land and never had it again. Oh, that's interesting too.
That is interesting. Dreams are so cool. I mean, I know I love talking about dreams and have a very active dream life, so it's always fun. The only reoccurring theme I have is living in motels. Even dreamed of Kaylee, and she was the cleaner at Lakeside Motel.
Oh, interesting.
Wow, lived in so many motels, and my grandparents had a Bowls motel. Interesting.
Huh.
Got some happy birthday wishes.
What's up, Kyle?
Howdy, Kyle. Gonna be seeing you and Serena and your little one very soon.
That's
Looking
gonna be
forward
awesome.
to it, man.
Oh yeah, man. I'm super pumped. It's gonna be cool.
All right, let's see.
Some swell folks in the chat, I must say.
Yeah, right. Record those conversations. I should actually.
Right?
And everyone should, if you have the opportunity to be talking to your elders. It's very important.
For sure.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, Hey there, my cherie.
Yeah, what's up, my Cherie? And actually, the grandma I was talking about isn't the hula grandma. I think I saw you say that up there, but it's my other grandma.
The other one, yeah.
Which I'll be seeing both of them very soon. Jason says, I consider myself as the black sheep, not in a negative way.
Right.
Same.
It's just different.
It is. It's just different. Yeah.
Right.
It's not a bad thing. I actually look at it as a positive thing, to be honest.
My grandmother has told me a story about how she used to pull tarot cards with the regular card deck. Yeah, totally. She ended up reaching other realms, and her parents got an old southern black man to come.
Wow.
Get the demons out, and she never pulled tarot again. Oh, interesting.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
tarot cards are it's the same system basically.
Yeah,
actually,
it is.
Miri here knows a lot about the various uses for regular card decks and how you can use them for divination purposes, and there's a whole system behind all of that. It's really fascinating. Hey there, Bearsworth.
Yeah, what's up? So with that ghost pipe, honestly, I just sit with it. I just commune with it. I don't really make medicine, but what you could do with it is make an essence of it, or you could tincture it. Personally, that's how I like to work with ghost pipe, is kind of just being in its presence. There's certain plants that I find that are better for that than others. I think they're all good for it, but I think some have more potency like that, and I think ghost pipe, in my experience, has been that way. So yeah, that's what I would say about that. Nee. Thunder Chicken says he doesn't dream.
Gotcha.
You might, maybe. Let's see.
Definitely, since we're on the topic, cannabis prevents me from dreaming generally.
Oh, yeah.
And so whenever I take a break, and literally within 2 days,
they come back.
They come back. Sometimes even just one day. You know, they'll come back pretty much immediately, it feels like. But if I'm smoking every single night, generally I do not dream, although it does happen sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've heard that's common for a lot of other people too. Christy dreams.
Christy dreams. Heck yeah. Let's see.
What's up, Christy? If she can hear this. I don't know if you're at home, Ben, or you're on the road or whatever, but if she's around, tell her we said hi.
Yeah, say what's up. And I have a package coming for you guys. I'm sending it out tomorrow, or it's going to go out Saturday. Let's see. Stacey Sunshine. My mom has night terrors all the time and doesn't remember any of it. Interesting. Yeah,
I could see that.
The night terror I had, that last one that we were talking about, it was like I only remembered the thing that woke me up.
Right.
It was only the thing that woke me up that I even remember. So
Right.
It's really interesting.
Ooh, okay. Sarah says, I also have recurring dreams where I am bitten by animals. Different animal every time, generally. Whoa. Interesting. Okay.
So were you bitten by an animal in your waking life, or were any of your family members bitten by animals?
Right. The main one I have, by the way,
there you go.
the only nightmare I ever had is the teeth falling out. Me too, Binna.
Yeah.
I hate waking up from that knowing is money troubles ahead. If I see yellow in a dream, delays. If I see shit, money's coming. If I see shit, that's hilarious. That's so perfect.
That is, right.
Feces and money symbolism go hand in hand. I've been saying that for a while. And when you look into money symbolically, like some of my symbolism books, literally they say shit equals money. Shit equals gold.
I've heard that too. And yeah, it's funny. It was a couple weeks ago, I had a dream that our cat was pooping or something like that.
Oh.
And then I woke up and he had like pooped, and there was like poop, and I was picking it up in the litter box, and I was like, oh man, what the heck? And they're like, wow, I just dreamed that, and then I'm picking up his poop and all this stuff. Anyway, but yeah, no, I've heard that too.
But Benna, so that is one of my recurring dreams, is my teeth falling out. And it's happened so many times over my life that when I was in film school, I actually made a project about it. The whole entire short film was about this kid's teeth falling out. And it was very dreamlike as well. And actually, I just have to say, ever since I made it, I don't know if I've had that dream anymore.
Oh, interesting. Because you like brought it into the 3D.
Yeah, I think that I finally processed it, you know, in my conscious sort of life or whatever. But yeah, it'd be so scary. Oh my God. And then you just have a mouthful of teeth. Like usually it's like one starts, at least this is how it is for me. It'll be like one tooth is kind of loose and then it falls out. And then you like kind of think in the dream like, oh, well, I can go to the dentist or whatever, and then like 2 or 3 more fall out, and then you have a mouth full of teeth, or like they're in your hand, or they start disintegrating or something like that. It's fucked up, man. But what I've always heard is, I've looked it up a few times, and that it means loss of control.
That makes sense to me, actually.
So
you're right. Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
Lots of teeth falling out dreams here.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha.
I've been told it's because I'm about to make a big decision with irreversible.
Oh, interesting.
Irreversible consequences. Yeah.
So we have 3 people here, and there's 3 people here who have teeth falling out dreams.
Toilet overflowing nightmares too. I was told that's blocked creativity trying to find a way out.
Huh.
Oh, that makes sense. Interesting. I've heard stuff like that too. Like if you having like, there's like plumbing issues there that can like translate over into your life somehow, or like be representative or symbolic of like something leaking or whatever. I don't know.
Can you highlight Ben's comment right there? Minor Arcana.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's totally right. The regular playing card deck is the Minor Arcana, basically. So it's not the Major Arcana, but the system is largely the same. And even too, I think that the Joker card arguably is the Fool card.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know.
And then why is it that you always take the Joker out? You don't play with the Joker.
It depends on who you're playing with.
Okay.
If you're playing a real game, you don't play with it.
Right.
If you're playing with like money, you don't play with it.
Right. Interesting.
You know, like, I'm pretty sure, right? Like Texas Hold'em and stuff like that. You're not really, if you go to a casino, you're not getting a Joker card anywhere.
Yeah. No. Ben says he doesn't dream either.
Gotcha.
Thor at the door. Ben, you're living the dream. Nice.
Yeah, totally. That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm the same with you, Sarah. It doesn't affect my dreams too much either. Cannabis.
I wonder if it's a lady thing.
It might be, because I smoke plenty of cannabis and I tend to dream quite often.
Right.
So yeah, it might be. I don't know, but that's interesting. Glad you shared that, because I feel the same way.
Nice. Christy can hear us. What's up, Christy?
Hey, Christy. All right. Let's see.
Holy shit. I had highlight Gordy's. I had 2 sleep studies, 176 disrupted events in one night.
Wow.
That's insane, dude.
That's wild. So like, would it be just is that like tossing, turning?
Or it could just be, there may not be actual like a physical representation of it, but maybe, I don't know. I have no idea.
Like if your brain was like hooked up to like,
or like your breathing and
right,
stuff like that. I have no idea. That's a lot.
That is a lot. That's interesting. Gosh, wouldn't that be a trip? We'd
like
all probably be
couple of minutes or something.
Yeah, we'd probably all be pretty tripped out to see how many times. Let's see. Nico says, OMG, last night I had a dream I was sleeping under a bridge and picking bacon out of my food. Was going to give it to my pet spider. Interesting. Nice.
Oh, interesting. Elise. When I ask her to explain more about her card pulling tarot days, she won't even go there or tell me more stories.
She had an experience to scare her straight, I guess.
For sure. I think tobacco blocks dreams too. Interesting.
Interesting. That is interesting. It could. Maybe. I wonder, because I always think of tobacco as a gateway kind of medicine plant. But that's interesting.
Elise, so you highlight that comment right there.
This one?
No, right down below. Just curious, is your family member, are they Christian now or religious at all? Was there any religious influence on doing away with the tarot? Because that's kind of a common thing.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So,
yeah, again, I smoke almost every day and I dream constantly all night. So really is the individual. Yeah, I would tend to agree. All right, Flat Earth hippie tobacco he says it doesn't block his dreams. Well, interesting. Again, I think it is an individual thing. I think we all have things that affect us differently. So it's just like you can't give somebody one thing and think that it's going to work the same as it works on.
I just have to say,
whoever
I'm just
else.
curious. The people who have said that cannabis does not affect their dream world have all been women.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I just wonder if there's something going on there.
She said the man buried her cards.
That's intense. That's very interesting.
Okay. Manifests misfires in your brain. I had to sleep with EKG
He was having
notes.
seizures at night, he was saying.
Oh, okay. So that's why you had to have it. Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
And then down below, nope, fat and unhappy. She feels like she gave her life away and left what she left to pursue money for the family. Got it. Interesting.
Welp.
Yeah, I know. My Shuri's saying you must have been always tired, Gordy.
Yeah.
Is that the case? I could see that.
That would be intense. And he says, yep.
Makes perfect sense.
Oop. Ah, the spinning plates. Oh. Makes you not dream. Interesting. And then I get some fucking awesome downloads from cannabis. Yes.
Same, dude. Yeah.
Here.
For sure.
All hail. All hail the sacred green woman. Well, cool. Yeah.
Good stuff.
That's great. Thank you guys for chiming in and sharing your dreams and all that stuff. This is a good one. Love talking about this stuff.
Totally. So, right on. So what percentage of people have reoccurring dreams versus don't have reoccurring dreams?
Good question. I guess we didn't really count, but
Was like half, you think?
maybe half. Because I would say half could be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, very small sample we have here.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to learn more about all of this.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a good rabbit hole for sure. So
Right.
I'm very interested to hear what your folks say.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
I'd love to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, we have another segment that we introduced last week.
Yep.
And it's really simple. It's very straightforward. And it is a shout out segment. So really, the idea behind this segment is that, just like with all of you guys, we've had the privilege of learning from so many different teachers over the years. Some more influential than others. Just like you guys, there's people that you listen to for, I don't know, several months, and there's people you listen to for a week, and then you're moving on and whatever. But I think it's good for us to kind of highlight and just kind of pay our respects to some of the people who really influenced us.
Yeah.
Who really have given us a lot of good information over the years. And we were thinking of somebody, and I thought of somebody pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that person is Michael Tessarian.
Yes.
And so Michael Tessarian, if you guys are unfamiliar, I would really suggest giving him a chance, looking up his interviews, looking up some of his lectures, basically. I believe Chance from Interverse, if I'm not mistaken, because Chance invited me to talk to Michael one time, and at some point in that process, he said that he holds the title for being on Michael's podcast more than any other guest.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah.
That I think Michael Tessarian was really influential to Chance. I think that he supported him for years. And I think that over the years, they've gotten to know each other. He was invited on at some point, and then he has been a regular routine guest for a number of years now.
Right.
And so that's why when I first went on Interverse, he asked me if I wanted to be on his show. And I'm like, dude, of course. I'm like, I fucking love that guy. He's awesome.
Right.
So Michael Tessarian is somebody that I have definitely gone in and out of in terms of like really paying attention to what he's doing or whatever. But I just have to say, every time I do revisit his work, or I get something that intrigues me enough to like renew my subscription or membership or whatever, which is called Unslaved, by the way, there was a number of years where Michael was producing a lot of content, but it was all over the place. And so he had like 5 different websites, and they were all for different projects and like different books that he was doing. And then he teamed up with David Whitehead from Canada, up north, right? And he helped him organize his stuff. And then they got kind of one unified platform for all of his content, which is called Unslaved. And so they do a show together. And it's been really cool, too, to see David Whitehead do his thing as well and get like way popular over the last like 4 years or something. And then I actually met him at one of the Free Your Mind conferences.
Oh yeah, I
as
remember
well.
that. Yep.
The last Free Your Mind conference, Michael gave a live presentation through Wi-Fi, basically.
Yeah.
But David was actually there in person, and I talked to him and his wife briefly or whatever.
I remember when you did that. Yeah.
But Michael Tessarian, though, he really has a strong psychological background. He's very well read. He's put out a lot of information relating to the tarot, mythology, Ireland. And I think that his awareness of history is very solid. And I just, like I said, I don't keep tabs on him all the time. But there was a point in time where he was one of the first teachers that I came across with certain subjects that really, like, he just spoke to me. And I'm like, this guy is very, very interesting. And he always pioneers the individual.
Yeah.
That is one of the things. Individuation, doing your own work, understanding who you are, what your ethics are, what your boundaries are in life, not going along to get along, not subscribing to anything the masses want you to subscribe to, or the media wants you to subscribe to, understanding that there is literally a whole campaign that has existed for a long time that is meant to suppress individualism, like true individualism, and so to be a psychologically sound, holistic person is like a no-no here.
Right.
That we, from a very early age, we've been taught to go along to get along.
Right.
And we've been taught to follow the crowd. And we've been taught to belong to some sort of large community, which now we know about communitarianism and all the bullshit that comes with all that stuff. So in a certain way, I kind of feel like Michael Tessarian, I don't know if he would even say this, so I don't want to put words in his mouth, but in that kind of way, I think he's kind of a left-hand path type person.
Yeah.
That he's more about doing, the personal work versus not, and so, and he's willing to kind of go there with his lectures and, some of the stuff he decides to talk about. He has a really good grasp on astrology as well. And some of the things that I think about when he comes to mind is, as an example, he did a whole entire all day long live presentation about what he refers to as the female Illuminati.
Yep.
Which you said, did you just bring this up to Christy?
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah.
Right. And so I was so stoked. We paid however much, 10, 20 bucks or whatever it was.
Yeah, we had friends over.
We threw a potluck. We had no idea how long it was going to last.
Yeah.
And holy shit, it just kept on going and going and going.
It was like 10 hours long or something crazy like that.
It was.
Yeah.
I would say it was at least 8 hours, don't you think?
Yeah, it was. It was an all-day affair. It was really awesome, actually.
Yeah, so he put out all this information about this about the matriarchy.
Yeah.
That there's a hidden matriarchy behind the patriarchy. And that there's a whole history of female Illuminati type figures, characters, queens, people in royal families and stuff who have called the shots, who have a lot of influence, but they kind of hide behind the patriarchy.
Right.
They hide behind, the people who do a lot of their dirty work and everything else. And that's kind of their role, is like they want to be hidden.
I was going to say it's on purpose, too.
It's on purpose.
It's
by design.
Right.
And so he did a whole entire lecture about the female Illuminati. That was awesome. That was years ago. But, he's always up to something. He's always looking into things. And I just have to say that, over the years, he's just gotten my respect so many times that I feel like he's worthy of a shout out here.
Yeah.
So I encourage people to look into Michael Tessarian if you've never looked into him. So his last name is Tsarion, Tessarian.
Yeah. And I really got a lot from his talking about the sage versus the psychopath, and how a lot of times, like, the sage and the psychopath.
This is a very good one. Yeah,
and maybe you can explain it even better, but how they have like very many overlapping qualities. But the tricky thing about it is that a lot of times the psychopaths are attracted to the sages.
Yeah.
and it's like this thing that happens. And isn't it that they're both like attracted to each other in some way, or
Yeah,
like
I mean, basically, it's so he came out with some information that he referred to as the sage versus the psychopath. And once you understand this dynamic, it's very fascinating because you see it all over the place. And you
Yeah.
could see how probably a lot of people actually who would be watching our show
right.
might fit into one of the categories. But basically, the whole idea is that people who are more sage-like, if you want to put it that way, who are more sympathetic towards other people's needs, who are more sensitive, who maybe have, to use a James True word, a wider aperture of things,
Yeah.
and that they're more giving and they're more forgiving and all this other kind of stuff, that they are natural magnets for people who want to take advantage of all of that.
Right.
Which would be the psychopath.
Right.
So in a way, the sage and the psychopath, they kind of need each other in a certain way. And they're kind of in a certain way, I would say, especially with the sage, they're oblivious to some of the psychopath's techniques. And they're oblivious that there's even people kind of out there
That could do it.
because they are so welcoming. They are kind of very much communal type people or whatever. And so a lot of people who might be sensitive, who might be kind of like, you know, to borrow new age terms too, like light workers or whatever, dude, some of these people, and I feel like I've gone through several cycles of this myself,
Yeah.
or whatever, but a lot of people who are kind of like that, more so healers or shamans or whatever, if, you know, to use these terms kind of just like very loosely, I suppose.
Yeah.
That these people are fucking basically just like raw meat for these psychopaths.
Right.
That psychopaths love people like that. They're heavily attracted to people like that, and they want to take advantage of all of your good nature.
Right.
And he's done I'm pretty sure multiple shows kind of laying out this whole entire dynamic.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's really interesting, wouldn't you know, that people who have really good hearts get taken advantage of.
Right.
You know, and that there's always going to be someone around the corner willing to take advantage of it.
Right.
You know, and so conversely, there's people who love to take and take and take and take. They got lots of excuses. They always feel like they need other people's stuff or energy or attention or whatever. And it's amazing that these two people, the dynamic of the sage and the psychopath, dude, it's like moths to a flame. They find each other.
Right.
And so it's almost kind of more of like, you know, he was letting people know, like, if you're kind of on this path, the sage-like path of whatever, the psychological, the spiritual path, that you got to watch out for all these people, because
Right.
there are so many of them, and a lot of them wear really good masks, and they can put on a really good front, and they can say this and that and everything else. But it's just kind of like, you just got to be very, very wary of the people you kind of like allow in and let into your life.
Yeah.
You know, that
Big time.
way.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really, really, really good advice. And I think that ever since he explained that, there's probably other psychologists or people who have explained this in different ways or whatever. But once he explained it, I was like, oh my God, dude, that explains like several of my past relationships. It explains like us, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
You know, because it is what it is. And so it's like puzzle pieces.
It is.
You know, one puzzle piece has this empty sort of divot or space. That other puzzle piece fits it nicely like a glove. And for a while, you know, you might think that this person you're interacting with or have a relationship with or whatever, that there's like some sort of equal exchange or whatever. But a lot of times you're very naive.
Yeah.
You know, and you think that this person also has your best interest in mind because you're projecting the way you tend to look at things onto them.
Right.
So you're like, oh, well, I'm good-natured and good-hearted. Oh, well, this person must be too, right? Right.
Right.
You know, it doesn't really work like that. It reminds me of the whole saying that I used to say more often. I feel like I need to like say it more often. The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so a lot of these sage-like people, they think that their good intentions is what the world needs. And it's just like, a lot of times it ends up not working out for you that way.
Right.
That it's to me, what I've come across, and I think some of Michael's stuff has kind of taught me this a little bit, it's not enough just to be nice anymore.
Right.
Being just nice is very overrated, actually, I'll say now. Even though I'm a very nice person, I'm a very nice person to people, very accommodating, very welcoming. I love people. I like hanging out with people, all that kind of stuff. But like the older I get and the more I learn about the dynamics of all of this stuff, like just being nice doesn't mean that much to me anymore.
Right.
You know, I'm way more impressed with people's actions. You know, like
Right.
actual real actions, you know, in their actual life and stuff.
And how they carry themselves, or how they deal with things when they arise, or their accountability, you know, all of these things. It's like, holy crap, you know. And learning this stuff from Michael seriously helped me, both of us, so much, because then it was very eye-opening to us, actually, because we both kind of have had a lot of those situations. We just went through one again with our neighbor that we've been dealing with.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing, both of us, and we both just were like, wow, okay, you know. And it just another notch on the belt now.
Another example
Of this same dynamic. And so anyway, yeah, he's wonderful. And Mario introduced me to Michael Tessarian. And so that, I would say, for me, with his female Illuminati stuff, has been some of the most potent things that I've learned from him by far. And I love his demeanor, and I love how he kind of carries himself just online. It's not like I've ever met the guy or anything, but just everything about him. I just think that I just really like his style. So it's very cool.
Yeah, totally. So check it out. It's called Unslaved. He does it with David Whitehead. And he's been doing stuff for a long time now. That's the other thing. It's just kind of like he's been at it for many, many, many years now. So he has longevity on his side. And dude, people who have been doing that kind of work and research for a long time, they continually just put together new pieces to the puzzle. Yeah. You know. So anyway.
Right.
So that's what's up.
Yeah. That's a great shout out. I like it.
Totally. All right. Let's see what's going on in the chat before we land this plane.
Sounds good.
Curious, too, if anyone here has listened to Michael Tessarian or likes his work or anything like that as well. All good, obviously, if this is the first time you've heard his name, because he's popular in certain circles.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know how mainstream popular he is or whatever,
but he's also not everybody's cup of tea.
He's not everybody's cup of tea.
He's more about personal responsibility and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Once you start talking about that, you really separate the wheat from the chaff a lot of times. Chaff, I should say. So anyway, I know that's one of the reasons why we like him, though, is because that's one of his main things that he talks about.
Gotcha. Yeah, right. All right. So just looking at stuff. Okay, right on, Jason. He's talking about the clown Nephilim thing. I'm screenshotting it. I'm remembering this to look into it later. I will definitely check that out. I'm interested. Clowns equals Nephilim. That's what I've heard. I don't know anything about it. It's kind of it's curious. My mind is kind of scrambled even just thinking about it. But it's interesting. So family fun guy, James is saying, spot on, Mario. I was homeschooled until middle school / high school and did not fit in the go along to get along mindset. I was an outsider and weirdo. Dude, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Congrats on being a outsider and weirdo, by the way.
Yeah.
You're in good company.
Hell yeah, you are.
I'm not surprised at all, dude, based on some of the stuff you're aware of as well, for sure. So okay, cool. So Benjamin's saying that the aperture, was it aperture?
Yeah, he was yeah.
Yeah. That's not James True. It's Neil Kramer's. Gotcha. Noted. I can't say I'm surprised.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised either.
Right.
That guy.
Yeah, some people here don't have the nicest things to say about him. I can't say I've really tuned in a very long time in what he's up to these days at all. Gotcha. Flat Earth Hippie says no good deed goes unpunished. in reference, I'm assuming, to my paved roads of good deeds leading to hell comment. Hey, Jenny G, what's going on?
Oh, what's up, Jenny?
Nice to see you in these parts.
Yeah.
JJ Organics, what's up?
Hey, JJ.
Yeah, well, a lot of time you try and warn people and you end up sounding insane. I know, man. It's actually really interesting. It's a lot of times someone has to go through the shit themselves.
It's true.
You
You can
know.
only do so
So
much,
right, right. I asked this just reminds me, but we were dealing with somebody who had an addiction issue, and it was a big part of our conversation at the time. And I asked my psychologist friend, licensed therapist, psychologist guy with clients and all that kind of stuff, what can you do to an addict? How can you help an addict out? What's the best policy there? What can you say? What kind of advice? That kind of stuff. And he said, honestly, just keeping it real, he said the best thing you could do is get out of their way. They have to figure it out on their own. They have to want to get clean on their own. There's nothing you can say. So what I've heard from other people before say that if an addict isn't ready to get clean, there's nothing you can do. Conversely, when an addict is ready to get clean, there's nothing that can stop them. And so it's just kind of like how it is. So I think it's kind of similar with what you're saying here, is just that if somebody's interested in hooking up with this person or doing something with this person, very little can be done in order to prevent that from happening.
Right.
They're going to have to learn this lesson on their own.
Right.
So it's tough, but that just seems to be the case with a lot of things. Yeah, right. So Sarah's saying healthy boundaries is key for me. I seem to attract psychopaths like nobody's business. I know, man. Yeah, I totally get it. I attract lots of interesting people. And it's because of I tend to have in person too, more of an open receptive sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that people like that. It's almost like you have an open vessel, right? It's like, come on in,
Right.
So, gotcha. Oh, Lucas. Yeah, man, you might like him. He's interesting. If you've never checked him out, I appreciate him. There's a lot of things he does not talk about though. So it's he has his lane, and I respect him for his lane, and a lot of the things that we can talk about or whatever, I don't think he's necessarily going for that kind of material. In fact, I've heard different things from him over the years about his opinion about certain topics and whatever. And so, but anyway, I've learned enough stuff relating to psychology, and mythology and symbolism that I feel like he's someone worth acknowledging.
And that's the beauty too about people in general. You don't have to agree with everything they say.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that that's kind of one of the healthier ways to even look at it too.
Right. So Sarah's saying, I've definitely heard of him, but never delved. Very cool. If you guys check him out, let me know what you think about his style, Okay, cool. The Real Spoon says, I have been influenced by several people who have been influenced by him. That's really interesting. Actually, you're probably going to find that being more of the case, that he's kind of, the internet moves so fast that he's kind of an old school guy now.
Yeah, he is. He's been at it for a long time.
So he's been at it for a while. He's going to appeal to a certain demographic of people, I think. And so, yeah, a lot of people that we might all respect and listen to or whatever, maybe were fans of his at one point. So, all right. So what does Varuni say here? Agreed regarding Sage versus Psychopath. However, as a literal Sagittarius full gesture, Sage discerning psychopaths behind masks. It's often tempting to dance with the devil to teach him to stop hunting sages. Oh, interesting. Okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I could see that temptation. All right. Cool, guys. What's up, Joshua?
Hey, Joshua.
Alrighty. Sweet. Some solid people here. Man, I respect so many of you guys, honestly. Like, I wish we could all have a barbecue or a potluck or something together.
Yeah, me too. I'd love to host it.
Yeah, I know you would. You would do a great job at it.
Oh, man, it'd be so fun. Maybe we'll do it someday.
Just open it up.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had the dream to want to do some kind of event or like a conference or, something along those lines. And so it's in my heart to want to do it. And so who knows, maybe it'll happen someday and that would be awesome. Or maybe it'll just be a barbecue. I don't know, but I'd love to host something where we can, open it up and allow people to come over and hang out.
Totally. No, that'd be awesome.
It might happen.
I think so. Let's just put it out there.
Yeah, we will.
What's up, Chance? How's it going, dude?
Howdy, Chance.
Nice to see you, man. As always.
Merry Thursday.
Yeah, Merry Thursday indeed. I'm going to be talking to Chance over the weekend on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that's going down.
Nice.
So that'll be interesting. Going to talk about some Kabbalistic stuff, some recent things I've been learning. Curious to hear his take. But I think that'll do it, Bub, huh?
I think so.
All
Yep.
right, cool. Let's land this plane with some slides here. Thank you guys once again for hanging and chilling. We appreciate you. As always, if you want to support the channel, patreon.com/thehealinghome. And let's just give our patrons one last shout out.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you guys, because several of these people are still here. Chance,
Yes.
Benna, Inland Sea, Liam, Amy, Miri and Hank, Jenny G, Erica, Tattoo Dave /Moonlander, Mary, Catherine Logan, Catherine Logan Cook, Lily Vine, and Debbie. You guys are rad.
Yeah, very much so. We super appreciate it. Keeping the ship afloat and moving, gassed up. It's awesome.
Keeping the microphones on.
Yeah.
You know.
Keeping the lemonade and elderberry honey flowing.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It's a good thing. We're digging it.
For sure. And then you're doing a solo show.
I am.
Which will premiere on Tuesday at the normal time.
Yes.
And do you want to give another little teaser about what it's all about?
Sure. So, yeah, as if you were listening in the beginning, I'm going to do a solo show and I'm going to talk about my healing journey. So I want to tell you guys about why is the healing home called the healing home? What has gone on in my life in that respect, why I feel as though I've been called to kind of be in this role of, as I said in the beginning, not a healer, because I don't like to call myself a healer, but just to like facilitate these healing conversations, I guess, basically, is kind of what I feel like one of my main roles here is to do. And so anyway, going to share a little bit more intimate stuff with you guys about my journey in my life and how I got to where I am right now.
I think it's going to be a good one.
I think so too.
Yeah. And
I'll be home in Milwaukee, but it'll be premiering, and so I'll most likely be in the chat. And yeah, we'll get down.
Totally. And then your full moon offering obviously is still the same.
Yep, CBD cannabis and white willow bark salve. I've still got, I think, 4 of them left, actually. So if you're interested in giving this baby a try, send me an email and let me know. I'll send one out to you.
Definitely. And people really like it.
Yeah, it's a really great one. I love it, and I've been making it for years, and so lots of success with this one. Up on the screen is my current menu. So top notch, the cannabis root and white willow bark salve. And another one that's great right now, antifungal wound healing salve, just because we're in the season where bug bites happen and scrapes and cuts.
People are in their garden and doing things to their property and stuff.
Totally. And this salve is just really wonderful. It's kind of an all-purpose. You can use it for a lot of different things, but it really accelerates wounds or the healing of wounds in a big way. So that'll be great.
You know what's so fun? People will buy one and then literally they get a new one like 2 years later.
It's true, because it lasts a long time.
And so people will be like, oh, hey, that stuff was really awesome. I've had it for 2 years and I just ran out.
Yeah, that's true. That does happen quite a bit.
It does. It's kind of cool when that happens.
It is kind of cool.
It's also a testament to how long you've been doing this too.
Yeah, that's true. And how long things last when you store them correctly.
Yeah, right.
The whole thing about people being afraid of, is it going to go bad or whatever? And it's like, well, if you store it in a hot freaking cupboard or if you store it in the direct sunlight, yeah, it might not last as long. But if you keep it right, keep it in a cupboard where it's cool and this and that. I mean, salves and things like that can last a very long time.
So wait, so if I'm Joe Schmo and I want one of these salves, how would I get one?
Well, Joe, you would send me an email to michelleshealinghome@gmail.com. You can also go to my website because there's a contact page there. So you could, send me a little contact note, or you could text or call me 503 568-1569.
Whoa. So you don't have like an online store that I can just put my credit card in and just like order it and stuff?
Nope. Sorry, Joe.
It doesn't work that way?
It doesn't work that way.
So I have to contact you directly.
Yeah, you have to actually talk to me directly.
Okay. Gotcha.
Or at least type to me, you know.
Right on. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
And then we've also got a snail mail address, P.O. Box 930, Carson, Washington 98610. I am happy to say, so cool. Amy really popped that cherry this week.
You did, Amy. Thank you.
So good job, Amy, sending us our first actual package after like 2 years of having this P.O. box. And so anyways, that's really cool. And So anyways, if you guys want to send a letter, package, anything else, feel free and do so here. Also, I'll just say that our post office is so small. They actually, my understanding is they don't give you alerts when you have a package.
Yeah, you just go there and you find out.
Ask. So if you send something, maybe just give us a little heads up so we can go check.
Right.
And then for my stuff, tarot readings, lessons, study sessions, and graphic design, you guys can hit me up at symbolicstudies.com, symbolicstudies@gmail.com, or you can text or message me, you can text or voicemail me at 503-893-4606. And I'm just happy to say that, man, people have been really coming through with all of the above.
Yeah, they have.
I'm keeping plenty busy these days with graphic design work and with readings and study sessions and stuff. So much love, guys.
Very much appreciated.
Super appreciated for sure. And then also, you had a great conversation with our friend Christy.
Yay, Christy. Oh, gosh, we did. We had a really good talk. And if anybody missed it, I would recommend just going back and listening to the chat me and Christy had. Let's see, what did we talk about? We talked about some of history, Christy's family history and how it's influenced her, which was really interesting for her to talk about. We talked about her as a shop owner, Invoke, and how she came to find Invoke, why she opened it, why she loves it, her passion for books, her passion for just dreams. So we talked a lot about dreams tonight. We also talked about dreams as well with Christy. Just such a wonderful, interesting, insightful woman. We also talked a little bit about the dark feminine. We kind of went all over the place, but it was a really good conversation, and it's always a good time with Christy. So if you want to listen to that, go on to the Healing Home under the Live tab, and you'll find that. I think we titled it Invoking... What do we call it? Invoking curiosity or... Embracing the mysteries.
There you go.
Embracing the mysteries with Christy. Which
she's one of my favorite people.
Yeah,
she's one of the most skeptical people I know.
Yeah, she is.
One of the most curious people I know. And has been one of the most supportive people I've known in my journey here with this kind of information.
Yeah.
So I just, I love her. So she's great.
Yeah, I second all of that. And I mean, she's just been wonderful. She's a staple in our lives, and we're grateful to have her. So it was wonderful to talk to her on the Healing Home. Absolutely.
And then I recently did a presentation or just a live stream called The Pentagram. And so I got into the symbolism of the pentagram and how it's kind of been used in occultism, I guess, and also the symbolism of the number 5, and the 5/star weave has been very potent for me over the last couple of months, I would say. So I felt like I wanted to get a few of those ideas off my chest and talk about, just some of the symbolism that I've been reading about and putting together with the number 5. And there's way more to it. I feel like I just scratched the surface.
Yeah, and you did a really great job. This was a good one. Yeah, I mean, you always do a really nice job, but I know that this was a really deep weave for you. So it was really cool to see you do the presentation, right on. Put it out there.
Thank you. Let's check out the chat one last time. What do you think?
Yes, sounds good.
And see what's happening here before we sign off. Okay, so totally. So yeah, Chance is like, oh yeah, we are talking on Sunday. I am pretty excited. Nice. Yeah, for sure, man. It's going to be a good time. And
Jenny G hopes it's during Pete Week. That's a nice, funny inside joke.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Nice.
It's cool.
Yeah,
it'll be for the ladies.
I'll tell you after the show.
Yeah, man. Thor at the door. It's a mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Yes.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, that's a nice one.
Okay, guys.
Good night, Thunder Chicken. You're probably already gone.
Yeah, dude. Sweet dreams.
Yep.
Or wait, you don't dream. That's okay. Maybe you do. I can't remember now.
No, he said he doesn't, but anyway.
Oh, nice, Jason. You're living in Mexico. That's cool, dude. Or maybe you're from there. I have no idea.
Oh,
but that's
sweet.
awesome. I would love to know what part of Mexico. Maybe you've taken off already, but I'm due for a trip back to Mexico. I've been several times, but it's been a while. And actually, I have an open invite to go and do a show down there.
Yeah, you should do
so
it.
I feel like I need to take advantage of that
You
because
should
it would
do
be
it.
it would be a good one.
Yep.
Alrighty, my Cherie. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Sarah G. We are all healers.
That's true. We are.
Right. So, Chance, you got the info on how to order, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
The
Right
Baldersons did use that salve on Scotty when she got attacked.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yep. It's a good one.
It is a good one. That's really cool. All right. Do people use snail mail? Serious question. I mean, not that much. Not as much as they used to. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, guys.
Oh, people want Christy's link.
Oh, please share her link. Okay, so it's invokeonline.com, I believe.
Yeah, that's the new one, but we should put it in the chat.
Okay, so I'll pull it up real quick.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out, guys. It's super fun. So I don't know, Mario. We won't be with you next week for Thursday, but the following Thursday we will. So and who knows? Maybe I don't think we'll be able to even do anything. You'll be traveling.
I think so.
Yeah, you'll be flying in the air. So
right.
Anyway, until the next one, which will be the first week of June, second week of June.
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. We'll be
keep
back.
you guys posted. Alrighty. Until then.
All right, guys. Good night.
Take
Thank
care.
you so
See ya.
much.
Bye.
Much love.